It's like this song. TFA family, what is up? What is happening? My goodness, it's good to be back in the driver's seat with you guys for the 2020 Fantasy Football Super Show on the Fantasy Authority sites. I'm your host, Ryan Williams. You can find me on Twitter at RyanAlexander_W, and you can already see that we have a plethora here tonight to talk the fantasy football season with you guys. I'm joined with the usual suspects. Child, please. That's Kevin Steele. You can find him on Twitter at FantasyRad13, and my boy Cody Kutzer. You can find him on Twitter at CKutzerFF. Now, we have three very special guests with you guys. They may be some familiar faces to you, but these are guys established in the fantasy industry. We're excited to talk about the season with them, break it down, chop it up. That's Ben Cummins at Ben Cummins FF on Twitter, doing stuff with the fantasy footballers. We got my boy Matty D at Matty DFS doing stuff with line movement. Can't wait to hear Matty talk about that. And D Brown, Derek Brown at DBro_FFB, holding it down with FTN. FTN has been doing big things, Derek, and I can't wait to have you hear us talk about that because, man, it's all exciting. Fellas, we are happy to have you guys here tonight. How's it been? What's up? What's good with 2020? Let's start it off. Let's chop it up. Derek, take the reins.
Don't make me lead off here. Dude, I'm glad to be back.
Course.
I mean, we're acting like a bunch of fools here before we turn the mics on, but this is going to be fun, man. Getting to kick it off. I mean, football's slowly getting closer. I'm ready for it, man.
Hell yeah. Ben, how you doing over there? What's going on? What's happening?
Sports are back, man. We're thinking positive thoughts, and I'm ready to talk some football with all you crazy sons of bees.
Love that. And Matty D, line movement, my man. How's it going? Happy to have you with us.
Yeah, man. Good to be here. I'm excited to talk some football as we finally got baseball back, so starting to get a little bit of normalcy here. But yeah, excited to dive into football here and talk some strategies on targets, and maybe you guys can sort me out a little bit on some best ball targets too as we dive into the new best ball platform. We can probably talk about that as well.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Let's definitely do that. Before we get started and before I toss it off to the dynamic duo that has been holding it down for the Fantasy Authority, Kevin Cody, and talking about what they have going on. We got some things going on at the Fantasy Authority. You could see on the bottom of the screen there. And if you're listening to this, you can follow us on Twitter at FF_authority. The Instagram's been popping off. Cody's been doing a great job with that. The Fantasy Authority, same on Facebook. And then the fantasyauthority.com. We've added some new people to the team in the past couple of weeks. If you guys haven't been following along on Twitter, we got Tom, Robbie, CJ, Brian, and Jeremiah all joining the team. So you guys look out for their content. Cody's been putting out great content on the site, doing videos from his mail routes. They're always entertaining for me to watch. He's been dropping knowledge with you guys, and Kev's been holding it down. I mean, look at what he's doing with the graphics. The website's been just looking amazing. Everything's been geared up for this 2020 season. It's all new here at the TFA, and we're excited to get the season started. So, fellas, talk to us about the Fantasy Authority pod and how's everything been going with life, talking about the season this year. I know things are crazy.
Yeah, I recently had to get a doctor's appointment because my back's been killing me from carrying this podcast so much. But
man, where's the drum sound
off? Sound off. I love it, child. Please.
Hey, it's been going good. It's been going good. We're building stuff. We're building audiences, and we're building championships, and that's what we do around here. And just drop nothing but straight fire and straight heat. Call people out, make fun of Dynasty community. It's what I do here. That's my gimmick. It's my shtick.
Always.
Gotta hold people accountable.
went from a redraft website, and everyone that we just brought in is all dynasty oriented. And I think that happened after everyone heard Kev just shitting on the entire dynasty community and basically just saying we're all a bunch of assholes and we suck and we're
That
stupid.
sounds about right.
So we had to
brought in all these dynasty
had to-
guys, and then literally the next podcast we had John Bosch on, and like I was like, "Can you tell me why dynasty analysts are fucking morons?" Like, you know, like.
Why don't you guys want to win? All I care about is winning. You guys don't want to win.
Writers, and of course he now has to hate Dynasty, of course.
Right. It's just typical Kev. Typical Kev. He just follows suit. It's hilarious.
And also, we got the DFS D-Gen Nation pod coming back in your face here in a couple of weeks. I'm excited about that, too.
I'm excited to be back full time with that.
Hell yeah. I got some big plans for
Let's
the
do
DFS stuff coming up.
All I want to hear is 1 hour, 2 hours long of Maddie just going straight at Kev's throat. It's going to be beautiful.
Oh, it's going to happen. No,
I know.
And
hold
then
it.
Ryan piggybacks off of them and tries to come at me. But, hey, I got two of them. Which one you want? Teledoc or emergency room? You tell me, okay?
This dude trying to fight online?
1, 2, 3, testing.
He worse than the Twitter warriors that we be sending after Kev. And his
Just held your
vengeance.
keyboard up, bro.
No cap.
Oh my goodness, man! Off to a great start here with this super show. What else would we expect? Fellas, let's talk about the season. Just, overall in general, before we kind of get into the players itself, we've had a lot of things happen since we've had you guys on since the draft. So a couple months have unfolded. We're getting the season around this pandemic that's going on, and everybody's worried about what's going to happen with the season and should we be doing NFL Island like the MMA's doing an island, or what is it, bubble this, bubble that? Is the season going to play? Who should I be drafting? Should we value Zeke highly because he's already had the virus? Things of that nature. It's been crazy, but I digress. We have Raheem Moser. He was supposed to get traded, and then he's not getting traded. He re-signed, but they're still going to run a committee out there. A whole bunch of teams are running committees now, and we got to talk about him and what to do with that backfield. A couple of guys that they're starting to release the COVID-19 list, and we're seeing some names pop up there. Rookies are popping up on there. Special teams guys, no big names as of yet, but there's still the potential that can happen as teams are starting to report into camps. Dalvin Cook is expected to report. He has a lot on the line that he could be missing as far as free agency next year if he doesn't show up. There's been talks about the holdout there, but looks like he's going to show up there. Antonio Brown retiring, not retiring, then retiring again. Just so much crazy happening on. So if you guys, I'll just open up the floor to talk about just storylines that are going on in the NFL now. What are you guys paying attention to as we get into August and when people are going to be starting to draft, and what are you looking forward to on the 2020 season?
I'll just jump in and say
at once.
I'll jump in and say I think me and Derek kind of have a running inside joke that football shape is not the same shape as being in good exercise shape. These guys go out and take a beating in training camp, and their bodies get accustomed to taking hits over and over again. And I think that's something that's going to play a role with no preseason happening. And you see all these running backs that hold out, but yet they come back and play week one. I can think of Le'Veon Bell a couple of years ago, Zeke last year. So you get these stud running backs who they come in week one and they don't get a full workload because their body's not in football shape. So I think that's definitely going to play a role, especially in the early part of the season until these guys start to get really acclimated to the atmosphere and being in good football shape and being able to handle a full workload that they're used to. So I think that it's going to, at least for me, how I'm going to approach it is I think I'm going to side more with the pass catchers, especially at the running back position, more so than usual, because I don't think these guys who rely on heavy volume for carrying the football are going to really, especially early in the year, I don't think they're going to get that high volume that we're accustomed to.
That's interesting, Maddie. I know Ben and Derek and Kev and Cody, feel free to chime in too. But I just know us being here, we were doing the Scott Fish Bowl. Shout out to Scott Fish and all that he's been doing. That was helping keep a lot of us sane during this crazy time, just to have something to talk about, to have the fantasy community all come together and be a part of. And a lot of the things that I was seeing during that draft, which is a good testament on how things are being viewed in this community, is that zero RB has been a very popular approach this offseason. A lot of value is being put, or a lot of investments being put on the pass catching weapons this year, and taking wide receivers early and waiting on running backs and just letting that kind of fall to the wayside. That's not been the approach that I'm usually accustomed to. I like going, I don't want to say a zero wide receiver approach, but I like investing in running back capital early and then figuring out the pass catchers later. But I know it's been a conversation in the community about which way is the best way to go in this year that's going to be different than any others that we've experienced. Are you guys finding yourselves leaning one way or another in that regard, as Maddie's touching on the wide receivers investing in a pass game more so in this season?
Well, let me just touch on real quick. I think the high-end running backs are still great targets. You just want to cater more so to the ones that catch passes, like in Austin Eckler is somebody that comes to mind over somebody like a Josh Jacobs maybe. Just like just that discrepancy between the pass catching running backs and the high rush attempt running backs, especially early in the year. But not necessarily, because I mean you can still get a lot of points out of those pass catching running backs, especially early in the draft. And I think that those guys are going to be the ones that make or break your roster.
Yeah, and obviously bell cow running backs, as long as they stay healthy, that's one of the questions, right? Are the league winners for you? So that's never going to change. And so, yeah, I mean, it just depends on where your draft slot is, of course, and all that good stuff. But if I have a chance to get some stud running backs, I'm definitely taking them, especially with the depth, right, of the wide receiver position that we have this year.
I think there's two different ways you can look at it. I think that either you can look at it as more of a reason to handcuff players and stuff like that as far as the running back position. Like if one guy goes out with COVID or something like that, and I can't remember if we had the mics on yet or not, but I think that there's a small edge as far as if you do play Dynasty and with these third and fourth running backs, like you're pretty familiar with them as far as looking down the depth charts. I think that there's either one of two ways to kind of splice this. It's like, do the running backs, like especially the handcuffs, because wide receivers, you're not going to necessarily see like one guy goes out and another guy's going to step into that role. They're probably just going to allocate targets a little bit different. Whereas the running back position, one guy goes out, another guy's going to step in. Now he might not see like this full bell cow workload, but he's going to see, if not that, he's going to see 60% of that possibly. And so whether you're looking at, that gives you more of a reason, like if you like a certain offense, handcuffing your guy, or taking a lot of shots as far as like running back twos on depth charts and just spreading it out, saying, okay, I've got like 5 or 6 running backs, 2 or 3 starters, 3 backups. And if one guy goes out, I might have a bunch of different options to play as far as running back goes. Just trying to splice out, like you're rolling dices right now as far as what this season could look like. And does this offer you and as bad as all this is, but like, how do you see this unfolding as to like, could you gain an edge as far as how your team construction goes in that regard?
Wouldn't probably the strike year, what was 2011, the best barometer to look at for this, to kind of see how things played out during that season, because how everything shortened was, they didn't get an off season, they didn't get any mini camp work or anything like that. It basically jumped right into the season. I believe that year, I think it was like 4 or 5 teams that averaged 30 points per game, which most year, I think like last year, only the Ravens averaged 30 points per game. So I think scoring is probably going to be way up, especially early in the year with defenses not really being ready to go. So I think that's kind of the way I look. I don't know if I would really change anything that I do in terms of drafting and the way that I draft, because I think all this is going to really favor offenses more than anything.
But I do think, and kind of going back to Ryan's original point a little bit, that the big topic, and I think we should probably touch on it at least a little bit, and I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts, is the thought of, excuse me, that rookies are going to start extremely slow. And I do think that that's valid, but obviously probably the majority of players are going to start at least a little bit slow. And I think there's definitely exceptions to the rule for rookies, especially the running back situation with Jonathan Taylor and guys like this. Like, I'm still not worried about guys like that, especially because I'm drafting guys to have that high upside in the second half of the year anyway. So I think that some of that analysis has gone a little bit too far. I'm still not as into like the Kerryon Johnsons of the world as much as some others are, but I'd be curious to get your guys' opinions.
I
agree.
For me,
I don't think it at all affects rookie like the running backs. Like I don't think this holding out.
That's not what Twitter and ADP tells you, Kev.
That's fucking ridiculous. Well, I don't know.
I'm just saying, man. Like everybody's talking about it. It's like the year of the zero RB, and like Mac is going to keep his job, and Kerryon's going to keep his job, and all the draft capital, and basically everything that happened in the NFL draft, all that was for nothing because COVID. Like,
right.
But
like
come on, man. Like,
the dynasty hysteria is completely shifted to the other side because of.
I think we've been in quarantine for too damn long, and some of us are drunk on our takes a little bit. So, like, whether the pendulum's like gone way too far to one way, like, I just feel like it's all or nothing with a lot of takes that you see right now, and a lot of the way that people are diagnosing some of this. Man, it's like, I mean, really, like, did the Colts take Jonathan Taylor to just play Marlon Mack? Like, is it really that damn hard for them to sit here and ride Jonathan Taylor or any of these rookie running backs when we see dudes get traded in the middle of the season and walk into 20 carries the same week? Like, come on, man. Like, there's some common sense here.
Are you taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire at his current ADP of 210?
Kev, you know that's the one outlier spot of ADP.
I'm just asking.
I'm telling you, that's the one outlier. You pick the one guy to try to trip me up on. Nah, man, come on.
No, I'm asking because I want to know. Are you taking him at 210? I'm
not going to take him at 210. No, I'm not taking Clyde at 210. The Clyde.
Let's be honest, Kev wants someone to say yes just so he can go off. So if someone would just say, Kev, you know what? I'm going to take him. Please.
No, I just want to know.
Would you take Akers going outside the top 24, Jonathan Taylor going at the back end as an RB2? Any other picture of what I'm talking about besides CEH?
I want all of the Cam Akers, Jonathan Taylor.
All right, we can stay here. That's all night. We can stay here. Right here, baby. Yes.
I like that we're on the same page.
And DeAndre Swift. I think DeAndre Swift, though, is the one that everybody's sleeping on the most. And I think he might actually, when you start to really look at it, I think he actually has the clearest path to touches. I don't know why people love Kerryon Johnson as much as they do. He has never been given the workhorse role in that backfield. They brought in LeGarrette Blount to take over for him not to do it. And now all of a sudden people think when they spend high draft capital on DeAndre Swift that all of a sudden now he's going to be the lead back. Like, you can get the fuck out of here with that.
I think it's the fear of the team that there hasn't been a solid
hold my
guy
beer, baby. That's
in
what
Detroit for a while.
Yeah, but that offense, I mean, that offense is going to be, I mean, as long as Matt Stafford stays healthy, like
right.
that we're talking about a top 5-10 offense.
Right.
Like, why would you not want that? Like, I don't know. But for most people, it seems like that DeAndre Swift is kind of just there. Like, that's how he's been through the whole process. Even before he was drafted, it was kind of like, whatever. Like, it's DeAndre Swift, you know?
So what's his redraft ADP? Like, where can you get
swallowed up? I think he's around 5th or 6th.
Give me a second, I'll pull it up.
5th or 6th.
Okay. So, I mean, that's still decent draft. I also like Zach Moss, so you can get super late. That's another guy I like because he's obviously stepping into the Frank Gore role. So, I just wanted to bring it up because there's still rookie running backs that I'm still super interested in.
Fantasy Football Calculator has Swift at 5'11", RB28.
Okay.
Right behind Cam Akers.
Here, give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up Football Guys. I mean, I think it's a point to talk about, though, because I feel like everybody's talking about fade the rookies. Exactly. It's like,
why? Like, especially rookie running backs.
Because it's the thing to talk about right now, Kev.
It's not like they're going in the first round or second round like we usually see every year, like the last couple of years. Like, that's ridiculous.
And I think there's something to be said in certain situations for certain quarterbacks are going to want to be able to trust their guys. You know, will Brady be able to trust Ronald Jones, Keyshawn Vaughn, blah, blah, blah. But in certain, like, I just wanted to use Jonathan Taylor as the example because I just think they're going to put that dude behind one of the best offensive lines in football and let him run. And yes, obviously there's going to be some form of timeshare for at least half the year. But what do we think is going to happen towards the end of the year? Because obviously, you know, we want to make the playoffs, but then we want our high upside to be in the playoffs so that we have a chance to win championships. And that's what I'm thinking about when I'm drafting. So and I think Taylor brings that.
But you're baking out the downside whenever you're taking him. If you're getting him in the 5th or 6th round, I mean, look at the other running backs that are going.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
They're
Swift is
all
going.
question marks.
Swift is going at the end of the 5th, and Football Guys right now RB28, right behind Ingram. Like Kareem Hunt and Devin Singletary are being drafted over this dude. I think that needs to be mentioned here. Like that's absolute insanity to me. Like you're taking some dude's backup and you're taking another guy that's in an offense where he will never be, is not going to be, even if Zach Moss like dies, like he's not going to be the goal line role. Like it's just not going to happen. So like, why is anybody drafting 2 backups and never going to be? It's like I understand the whole upside factor of Kareem Hunt, which people don't love Chubb because like if Chubb goes out, Kareem Hunt would be a star, but people don't cross apply that to Chubb.
Yeah. Right.
But it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, why is Swift going behind those 2 guys when the Lions just took him in the 2nd round?
But I think the bigger point, and again, back to Ryan, 0 RB. A lot of that, we all play DFS and we try to win GPPs. A lot of that is being applied when you're trying to win these big picture fields. So I have no problem with trying to be contrarian when you're trying to beat out tons of people. But when the majority of our analysis here is about trying to beat 12 people, 10 people, why would you fade some of these bankable stud running backs and now you have to make some of these tough decisions like we're talking about in the 5th round, when I just want to take Tyler Lockett, I want to take Tyler Boyd, I want to take Jarvis Landry, I want to take stud wide receivers there that I can bank on, and I already have some of my running backs. So that's obviously, the best approach. A lot of people are doing that. So yes, we want to get contrarian from time to time if we're trying to beat out thousands of people, but that's a whole different type of conversation.
Well, and I think the other thing that needs to be said here too is that like with some of the 0 RB approach, the edge that you're gaining from wide receivers, it's like, but that's also inclined that like there's not a flattened curve with all of that. Like that, like MT was basically the only wide receiver that gave you that week to week advantage. Like past that, how many guys could you find with a 20% target share, a 22% target share in their offense, as opposed to like there are not like this handful of guys with 30% target shares anymore that are like, if you have 2 to 3 of these guys, you're just mowing people down because you're not going to be able to draft, like, unless you're in some kind of puff league, what MT and Devontae Adams, like that's really the only 2 dudes that are going to give you that kind of edge right now. I mean, unless y'all are thinking about other players besides that, like that's the other thing about it. It's like, I could name you off like probably like 15 different wide receivers that are probably going to be really close to each other in the vicinity of target share, unless you're just talking about like what touchdown variance, which good luck predicting that.
So many wide receivers. And it depends on how many you can start. If you're playing full PPR and you can start up to 4 wide receivers, maybe 5, 6, 7, if you're in a dynasty league, it makes a lot more sense there. But just obviously know your format and your scoring settings.
I think the best strategy for me would be 0 RB. No, but I think just a robust wide receiver, taking 1 running back in the first 3 rounds, grabbing 1, because there is going to be a ton of landmines in this running back position group, right? Because they are being so far pushed up. We are talking about running backs that should be going like 6th, 7th round that are going in the 3rd and 4th round. Yep. And so for me, I love taking like one of those early running backs in the first 2 rounds and then just hammering wide receiver through probably the 5th or 6th round, and then then I'll take another one, my second, and then I'll hammer some more a little bit later, right? Because like to me, I think there's way too much risk once you get past really a certain point. Really, if you could make an argument right once you get past probably Dalvin Cook, like there is even I love Joe Mixon and Miles Sanders, all those guys, but they all carry red flags of things that could go wrong and how things could go sideways. Josh Jacobs the same way. Derrick Henry certainly could go sideways. Like all those guys past those like top 5 to me carry pretty big risk, or at least a decent amount of risk. And I would rather mitigate that by taking 1 there and then waiting a little bit later. Now, of course, you have your top 4 pick. You're 100% taking those guys no matter what. Top 5, really, probably. But once you get past those guys, if you wanted to take Michael Thomas and come back around in the 2nd round, and let's say you get if Miles Sanders is on the board or Joe Mixon was on the board, something like that in the 2nd, depending on how things fell, like I would much rather do that and then continue on taking wide receivers than I would rather go Everyone's like, oh, you got to go running back first 2 or 3 rounds. I'm like, no, like I like that. Like to me, like that has more risk to me.
Depends on
This
who
year more
falls
than
to
ever.
you. Depends on who
Because
falls to you.
Obviously it always is going to depend on how a draft plays out and everything else. Every league is different. I understand that, but if it plays out the way we're seeing ADP play out with all these running backs being overdrafted essentially in a lot of ways, then I don't want any part of that. And that's probably where I'd be different. I would never advocate for zero RB. I don't think you can do it. You could. I shouldn't say that. You could do it, but it's definitely not the most optimal approach.
I love it, Kev, because that's basically what I was alluding to. I think once you get past Nick Chubb and Austin Eckler, you can look at legitimate question marks at every running back past that. So get one stud and then lock in Travis Kelce, George Kittle, or some of these stud wide receivers.
I mean, it's crazy. You look at just ADP, like Allen Robinson's going like 3rd round, and then you have like Keenan Allen going the 5th, 6th round. It's crazy. Like how far these wide receivers are being pushed so far back.
100%.
No,
There's so many receivers you can get in that range.
And off the same token, with these running backs that you're investing, like how important do we feel like handcuffing is this year? Because as I'm going through drafts and best balls and doing other drafts that are early on and startup dynasty drafts, I just feel like for this season, if you're drafting Zeke, like how are you not taking guys like Tony Pollard? If you're drafting Kenyon Drake, how are you not taking guys like Chase Edmonds? The guys who have proven production when they've gotten a starting role. I get it. Like if you take a Joe Mixon and the only guy left is the Gio Bernard, maybe, you could wait on him late, but some of these other guys could have value like in the 10th round earlier. So how are you guys feeling about handcuffing this year as opposed to normal years that we'd be drafting in?
Well, I just want to say, because you touched on it, Gio Bernard goes super late. And if anything happens to Joe Mixon, if he gets COVID, if he gets hurt, like I'm trying to get as much Gio because he's free. And if Joe Mixon goes down, that's a dual threat running back in a good offense now that Burrow's coming in, we think. So I'll take all of that.
I think that at least where I lean on it, looking at where players are being drafted and stuff, you pretty much have like a handcuff round. Like, let me scroll down here. Like round 10 is basically the handcuff round right now. Like that is literally like, okay, in round 10, I'm going to read you from it's 10-ish, 11. Phillip Lindsay, Latavius Murray, Pollard, Moss, Henderson, Scott, Duke Johnson, Chase Edmonds. You get what I'm saying here. That's literally the picks from like 10-3 to 11-9. And to be honest, like I'm all with what Ben's talking about. I think you pick the handcuffs that are the sneaky ones that you go later with.
Yeah.
That whereas like Josh Kelly is going in the 14th round, Darrington Evans is going in the 13th round, Damian Harris 13th round, Gio is going in the 16th round right now. Like that is where I think the edge is as far as like not going for the cuff guys like at that point in the draft, unless like okay, you do take a Zeke and you're like, all right, I want to go this route because at the 11th round, if you've got your other positions locked up and stuff like that, fine. Like if you want to pay for that, like I'm not against that at all. But I do lean on taking the cheaper guys that are still have this easy path to mega touches that are going way later than that entire tier.
No, that's fair, Derek. And before you go, Maddie, I was just more so alluding to the guys who would be going, in the top 20 picks of running backs. Like Zeke is going to be anywhere from a 3rd pick investment to, 5th or 6th pick investment. Like Kenyon Drake's been going in the late first rounds in some drafts. So those guys who, when you've looked at the first round or even coming back around in the second, and you're like, I've invested so much draft capital in these guys for a season that is an unknown, quote unquote. How early do I need to think about taking their handcuff? Who, if they get the job, I know that they have the potential to ball out.
I think some of that's looking at the depth charts too, because I mean, like Kenyon Drake, are we sure that like Benjamin couldn't carve out the role just as easy as Chase Edmonds? I understand we won a whole lot of money on 1 week of Chase Edmonds, but like dude started one game and then like crapped the bed the next week versus the Saints. Like I don't think that he's the set it forget it handcuff to Drake. So I think it's some of that's like analyzing depth charts. Like does it make a ton of sense to pay that price? Like, how sure are you that he's the dude?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think draft capital is everything because, like, if you're taking a guy in the 10th round, you're looking for him to be a contributor to your team in addition to the guy that you drafted in the first round. And a guy that you drafted in the first round, you can't really afford to have that guy get hurt because you're so far behind the 8 ball. If you lose a Zeke and somebody else that has Kamara or Saquon or, all these other top running backs, Pollard's going to step in and do well, but I don't think he's going to match those guys. And so you're going to already be behind the 8 ball by losing your first round draft pick to an injury or sickness or whatever. So I think that those guys that are going in round 10, those are better 0 RB candidates if you were to go that approach, because now you're lucking into those guys becoming the guy, and you also now have a top wide receiver that you drafted in the first round to go along with them. And you didn't lose your first round pick to go with those guys. So it's about combining your draft capital for upside. You've now got a first round pick and a 10th round pick that play together, as opposed to, okay, I've now combined my first round pick and my 10th round pick into one player, essentially.
I like that. I typically think that way too. I will say too, because we're talking about robust RB where, you take the stud and then you load up at other positions. I am fine with guys like Phillip Lindsay and Zach Moss because I think they will have some standalone value. And then they also have that upside if something happens to Gordon or Singletary as well. So, those types of guys I'm okay with because they give you a little bit of both as well. And they're somewhat affordable.
We haven't seen him unleashed yet, but I'm so here for Duke Johnson season.
It's never going to happen, dude.
I know.
Even if David Johnson goes out, Bob is going to be like, all right, we're just going to re-sign Lamar Miller. Forget it. Like, I'm telling you, man, it's just never going to happen, dude. Like, last year was the perfect time for that. It was like, all you got to do is beat out Carlos Hyde. And Bill O'Brien's like, nah.
Maybe he'll trade Will Fuller for Frank Gore.
I will say, as somebody who's never liked Carlos Hyde, the dude actually played pretty well for his role last year.
He did.
His first 1,000-yard season.
Well, and they gave him a crap ton of carries. So, like, everybody that hates David Johnson, come at me.
I don't get it. I don't get that at all.
I'm with you on David Johnson, but I will say
we're going to talk about him.
Yeah, baby. But I have been warming up to it. If David Johnson gets hurt, listen, Cody, there's always a chance. There's always a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
No, I'm gonna lie to you like that, Cody. I'm not gonna lie to you like that.
A lot of people could have been made fun of for still being on the Devontae Parker bandwagon last year. So listen,
They can still be made fun of. Let's be honest.
Easy. Don't
they already quit that dynasty team, and the person who picked up that orphan is the person who got the wins on that.
Oh my goodness. We're at the 2020 Fantasy Football Super Show with the Fantasy Authority. Thanks for everybody who's watching out there. Shout out to Jay, Rich, and Nate who are coming into the comments. Let's go ahead and start this off. Thanks to everybody who's watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the conversation as we get ready to talk about our picks, so to speak, and where we're targeting players and who we love in what particular rounds. And a lot of David Johnson chatter was just going off. So Derek, I'll let you lead off with talking about players who are early round players, so rounds 1 to 3, who we like and who we're trying to target in every draft. And I saw, Derek, that you have been beating the drum for David Johnson, not just tonight, but you have been for weeks and weeks and weeks now to get back. And Kev will probably enjoy this because he's gotten into numerous Twitter fights during the past couple of months on people who are sleeping on David Johnson. So spread some goodness and talk me into wanting to draft David Johnson this year.
Yeah, so my trifecta of the early round guys that I really want to walk away if I can, like in every single draft, is Kenyon Drake, DJ Moore, and David Johnson. And Kenyon Drake, I mean, we've all talked about it. He's he's in a pristine situation. He's literally has top 5. Hell, if not, if everything were to break perfectly for him, he could be a top 3 running back this year. Considering offensive line, offensive situation, everything that you really want for him. He'll have pass game work. DJ Moore, I love him. Like, I feel like he could easily catch 100 balls this year. Like, the Panthers are going to throw the ball. They're going to run fast. I think DJ Moore goes back into the slot where we saw him succeed. He played more outside last year, but I think he goes back and sees some more slot time this year. And I think that fits perfectly with what they want to do with Teddy Bridgewater and run that offense. They're going to be chucking the ball a ton. And David Johnson, man, like, I don't understand, like, outside of injury, why people want to fade this dude. Like, you need to get off of this whole, like, okay, he looked like he was slow and broken down, like, versus Tampa. Get out of here with that. Like, that dude was, like, going through so many different injuries and literally keep trying to play. And Arizona, like, the Cardinals are just burying this guy when he's, like, slugging through tons of injuries. Like, he had a back injury. Before he had an ankle injury in week 5, he was a top 5, top 6 running back. He was running for 4.1 yards per carry. His yards per target over that mark was top 6 in the league off the top of my head amongst running backs throughout the entire year. If you look at that stretch where he was healthy, and now he steps into the Texans where we're just talking about it. They fed Carlos Hyde to 1,000 yards, and David Johnson is immensely better than Carlos Hyde could ever hope to be. And if he gets more pass game usage, like, I don't think that the Texans are going to magically throw a ton more to their running backs. I think David Johnson is really just going to – Duke Johnson's role is going to crater. I think David Johnson is going to be their do-it-all guy this year. You look at the first year under Tim Kelly, they ran more inside of the red zone. Like DeAndre Hopkins last year, nobody talks about this. He was top 5 in red zone targets in 2018. He dropped to 30th in 2019. That's because they ran more. We saw Deshaun Watson had a career high in rushing touchdowns. Carlos Hyde had more rushing touchdowns than previous years of Lamar Miller getting 3, 5. And we think that David Johnson can't stack double-digit touchdowns in this offense behind. And I know Maddie is a adjusted line yard zealot just like myself. Like, they were 21st in adjusted line yards last year. As far as power ranking, stuff run ranking, second level yards, open field yards, this line was top 12 in every single one of those metrics. And you're talking about a line that is anchored by Tunsil, who is still #good, and a bunch of freaking rookies who are going to do nothing. They're returning all 5 starters at that line. So really, outside of injury, I would love for somebody to come up with some kind of idea or reason why they should not love David Johnson. Because past that, I really can't make a case for it.
Did you see that one GIF of last year? Like whenever he was
says
running
all
slow?
of Twitter.
Did you see that?
Yep.
Did you see it?
I really feel like that really wasn't that bad. I watched that and I see the thousands of likes that
Dude,
has, and I'm like,
he looked.
it's really he's waiting patiently for the hole and it just never opened up. I never got
He
that.
looks so
I like
stiff.
it, bro. I'm with you on David Johnson and DJ Moore. 2 out of the 3. Can't buy into Kenyon Drake.
Can't buy into Kenyon Drake, you said, Ben?
That's what I said. Yeah.
Okay. Ben, why don't you take it over and tell us who are the trifecta for you in the top 3 rounds that you're looking to get?
So I'm going with 1 in each round. So I got Derrick Henry in the first, George Kittle in the second, and then Kenny Golladay in the third. Obviously, the stud running backs, we're not going to talk about the top 4 or 5 guys. So, Derrick Henry, 6th most opportunities per game last year, complete stud. I love that he plays on a solid team, and the offense revolves around him. So, pretty easy analysis there. George Kittle in the early second. I really like that. Elite player, paired with Kyle Shanahan. I just think it's incredible. I think that when we're talking about redraft and you want to just put somebody in that tight end slot, predictability plus the high upside, he was banged up last year. You look at a couple years ago, 1,377 receiving yards. I think if he can get the touchdowns on top of that, the ceiling is through the roof. And my theme here is studs. So I just think Kenny G is absolutely a beast. Always been on the Stafford bandwagon. If he comes back healthy, which is the question mark, but if he does, Kenny G has so much upside. He led the league in deep targets last year with 36. And we've seen him consistently win over the last 2 years in that area. He's in his prime. Really like the Lions offense. And I like Marvin Jones as a value too, but I would rather have Kenny G at price because I just think he's the stud in that offense.
I love the Kenny G call. I love Galladay. He led the NFL with David Blau for part of a year and 10 zone targets.
Yeah.
They were top 10 in points per game last year with Stafford. Like you don't have to sell me on it. I'm all in on Kenny G.
That's also something I've been trying to pay attention to as well. Like we saw Kenny G do it with Blau, like you said. We saw Devontae Adams do it a couple of years ago. I don't even remember who the quarterback was, but he was a scrub. And we saw Michael Thomas do it a little bit.
Was that Hundley?
Yeah, it was Hundley.
Yeah.
It was Hundley. And we saw Michael Thomas do it with obviously Teddy B's, pretty good. But if you can produce with a backup quarterback, that makes me feel better too. Obviously, that's not always the case. Juju was banged up last year, but we saw what happened with him. So, yeah, that's another good point.
I don't know. I don't mind either of those other than the Derrick Henry one like that.
And I kind of heard you say earlier that, there's I just don't see how he fails. And I know he doesn't see a lot of targets.
That's the biggest concern I have.
And I hear you.
I don't think that offense is going to be anywhere close to as efficient as it was last year. Like anywhere close. I think
agree
they're
with
going to be
that.
playing in much more negative game scripts this year. And when that happens, I think that really hurts Derrick Henry's upside because he's not a pass catching back. I think they could use Darrington Evans in that role. Much more than what I think a lot of people thought that's what Deion Lewis was going to do. Obviously, things kind of played perfectly. I felt like it was the perfect storm last year for the Titans, right? And I feel like this year it's going to kind of flip on its head, and that's why I want no part of Derrick Henry at his ADP. If he was going later, I wouldn't have any problem with it. But he's going in the first round, like top 6-7 picks. Like, no way would I ever even entertain the thought of taking him there. Somebody that has zero pass catching upside. And that's why I just cannot mess with Derrick Henry at that price.
Where do you have Derrick Henry at right now, Kev? Like
I have
where
him at
would
like
you put him at?
RB13 or RB14.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Kev, come on.
Damn.
Wow,
All right,
disrespecting that mountain man. Woo.
And I listen, Kev, I fully understand the value of targets, and I realize he doesn't see that many. We also, and I get it's kind of wishing, but we have seen the flip side where he takes screens 80 yards to the house. Maybe he does get a little bit more volume this year if they do have to throw a little bit more with no Deion Lewis, with a rookie in there. That's not guaranteed, so I get what you're saying. But we also saw what he did 2 years ago when he wasn't the guy at the beginning of the year, and he was behind Deion Lewis for a little bit, and he still balled out. The dude's in his prime. I think he's 26. I think that you're kind of, we shouldn't bet on outliers, but when a guy like Derrick Henry, who has just proven to us already in college and in the NFL that he's just a freak beast that is going to get the volume and is good and is going to produce, I mean, I'll take that all day. So I'm happy disagreeing with you on that one.
Yeah, 13th is low. That's why.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, if you said I don't want to take him at 6 or 7 or 8 overall, but I'd be happy like the back half of the first, that I get. But to put him at like RB13, like who do you have above him? Like Josh Jacobs and Austin Eckler and guys like that?
Kenyon Drake, Miles Sanders, Joe Mixon.
So you're gonna put Kenyon Drake, who has never in his life.
Oh God, don't hurt Kenyon Drake.
Had more of like a 6-game sample.
Don't hurt that man. He didn't do anything to you, Ben. He didn't do anything to you, Ben.
But this is my problem. He's never done it for a full year, even going back to college. Derrick Henry's proven it.
He's never been given the chance to do it for a full year.
Yeah, he played for Adam Gase.
That's true.
Yeah,
no,
I was going to say Adam Gase just crapped all in that dude's knapsack, man. Like
that's true. And we've seen almost every other player away from Adam Gase. I'm fine with that. But you also have to look at he never did it in college that much. All I'm saying is, compared to a guy like Derrick Henry who has given that sample size, that's just I can't get behind that.
I have him at 12. Okay, that's why I have him at 12. And so this is who I have ahead of him. I have obviously the top 4: Barkley, McCaffrey, Elliott, Kamara, and then I have Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, and Aaron Jones all ahead of him.
You have Aaron Jones ahead of him?
No. The one thing that I have to completely disagree with is you're going to put Josh Jacobs, who's on a worse team, who also doesn't catch passes, who hasn't been as good of a player in the NFL or in college, ahead of Derrick Henry. That makes no sense.
So here's the thing here's two things. One, the Aaron Jones hate has gone way too fucking far. way too. Yes, I don't think he's going
By
to
who?
19
LaFleur
touchdowns.
or the community? I
The
just want to make
community,
sure
the
that we're talking
community.
about
I
the
think
same.
the community.
I'm with you on that. Kev. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, the community. That's what I'm talking about.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page. That's
Fantasy
all.
Twitter has gone
Okay,
way too
okay.
far on Aaron Jones, right? He's still one of the most efficient running backs we've seen over the last couple of seasons. Do I think he's going to get 19 touchdowns? No. But do I think that AJ Dillon is going to come in and take his role? No. I still think he's going to get plenty of opportunities in that offense. I still think he's 100% the lead back in that offense. He's definitely the best running back they have in that offense. So I'm not concerned, as nearly as concerned with people with Aaron Jones as what other people are. Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs, when Josh Jacobs was coming out of college, Josh Jacobs was actually, that's what most people were excited about Josh Jacobs, was his ability to be a pass-catching running back. We have 1 year to go off of. They've said all offseason that they're going to get him much more involved in the passing game. We've seen that he can be a pass-catching running back. I get he didn't do it last year, but if I'm going to bet on a running back to do that, to get more opportunities in targets, it's him who's actually proven it in his career, even going back to college, that he can be a pass-catching running back, right? And so he's certainly going to get all the early down work. He's going to get all the goal line work. And if that offense does take a step forward with the addition of Henry Ruggs, with Bryan Edwards, with the things that they've done over this offseason, I definitely think that Josh Jacobs can get somewhere in that range of 60 to 70 targets this year. And so I don't think that's crazy at all to say.
No.
And so that's all I'm saying. So that's why I have Josh Jacobs ahead of him.
Man, go, you go ahead and take this, Ben. I'll chime in.
I hear you.
And if I hear one more person say anything about Jalen fucking Richard, because that's people's like counter for it. It's like, well, they re-signed Jalen Richard. I don't give a fuck. Like the guy, like I don't care about Jalen Richard whatsoever, right? Like he's a guy, right?
Who?
What about Lynn Bowden?
What?
What about Lynn Bowden?
No, I don't care. Josh Jacobs is going to get. And what did he play? 13 games last year. He played in 13 games last year, right? Josh Jacobs before he went down.
Somewhere around there, yeah, 13 or 14.
And what did he have? 1,200 yards rushing last year in just those 13 games.
Yep.
It is not crazy to expect that he can get a 30 to 40 target bump this year in a full 16 games. And like I said, in an improved offense, I think there's going to be more opportunities there. So people can hate. Honestly, like Josh Jacobs can easily lead the league in rushing this year. Like that's not a crazy thing to say.
That could happen,
right?
Yep,
And
that
so
could.
more goal line opportunities. So all these things. That's why I'm a little higher on Josh Jacobs, I think, than other people are.
I think you're splitting hairs here. For me, I think like we're arguing about the same player, but I feel like the situation is better for Derrick Henry to do. I don't think that the targets are coming for Jacobs. Like I'm not going to argue with you. Is he a good pass catcher? Can he operate in that facet? Yes, I will not disagree about that at all. Like I think that he is a better pass catcher than Derrick Henry. I just worry they're both script dependent backs at this stage. Like, and I worry that like the Raiders don't have a prayer on defense. The Titans do. Like they actually have a decent defensive unit. Like their rush defense is like top 5, top 8 in the NFL. Their pass defense, whenever they decide to not let Malcolm Butler,
they lost some pieces over the offseason, right? They traded away Jarrell Casey.
Yeah, that's been. But I mean, they also added. Didn't they add? They added a corner. I'd have to pull it up. They added one of their first round picks.
I think they brought in Jonathan Joseph. He's like
it was Clavion Chason, wasn't it?
I don't know. Their defense will be all right. Anyways, Kev, you name the bet. Anything. Derrick Henry versus Josh Jacobs. I'll make it.
Let's just make it it's just a simple $20 bet. So easy $20 bet.
Done.
E-handshake is good.
Points per
Cody,
game.
Cody, take the reins and come on in, and we can figure out a way to parlay a question in that Travis has. It's more so dynasty based, but based on some Ravens players. Travis, we'll get to you later on. Thank you for coming in and asking some questions and participating. But Cody, who are some guys that you're looking at in the first 3 rounds to target?
Yeah, my first 3 are going to be Joe Mixon. I can't get away from him. I think this year sets up for him to just absolutely smash with Burrow, with Jonah Williams coming back. He's been a top end RB2. I think it was an RB1 2 years ago in one of the worst offensive situations. Julio, we don't have to go into it. I think he is also absolutely going to smash this year. I think he's one of the guys we kind of touched on it earlier in terms of there's not really anybody who's getting 170, 180 targets and that, 28% target share. I think Julio could be one of them. And then Adam Thielen is my last guy I'll be targeting just because of the continuity. That defense, as much as old man Zimmer is going to want to run the ball, I don't think they're going to be able to. They lost a lot of pieces on that defense. I know Kev is just enthralled with Justin Jefferson, but I think Thielen is going to be the clear one in this offense this year. So those are my three guys that I'm.
And
I'm
I
really
heard Kev
targeting
say
in the
it
top
too
3
when
rounds.
you listed your running backs. Kev, one of the things I did like, I like the boldness of both of you on Mixon because, yeah, there's a little bit of a projection there, but we know how good he was in college. We know how good he can be, and if he stays healthy with the bump this offense should take, I have no problem with anybody being bold on Mixon. So I like that.
I think that they're all kind of in the same. Like I feel like they're all kind of different variations of script backs. Like Jacobs, Mixon, Henry, they're all kind of the same dude. It's just really what is the offensive environment around them. Is kind of what I look at with them because I sadly I think Mixon is a freaking stud in the pass game. Do I think that he gets the targets?
Right.
No, I don't think that he gets the targets either. But I do think that the offense is better this year. Like they're going to pass the hell out of the ball and be in the red zone more. Like the outlier, like touchdown, just run bad that they had last year was insane, man. Like Andy Dalton had like a 3% touchdown rate. Like that was behind dudes like Mitchell Trubisky. It was crazy how the Bengals just could not get into the end zone last year.
Those 3 running backs, though, Jacobs, Henry, Mixon, to me, I don't know if you guys agree or not, but to me, like if all 3 of them hit their ceiling in the receiving game, it's Mixon, obviously by a long shot. He has so much upside there. So I think that's what's really exciting if Burrow comes in and does what we think he's going to do. So,
Kev, where you at with your picks?
Well, I already said one of them, Miles Sanders. It's Austin Eckler and Allen Robinson for me in the first 3 rounds. If I could come away with that in a draft, I'd be thrilled. Like Miles Sanders, I it's so lazy. The hate for Miles Sanders is fucking ridiculous in my opinion because it's just. Well, Doug Peterson's there as the head coach. We've never seen him be able to do it, right? Like, it's always been a committee. And I'm like, yeah, but they've had what? The corpse of fucking Ryan Matthews. They've had fucking like Garrett fucking Blunt, Jay Ajayi, who doesn't have any fucking knees. Like, they've never had any fucking running backs there. And then you head into last year, and okay, well, they had Jordan Howard. Well, yeah, he was a fucking rookie. He takes over, and he fucking balls out. Well, now it's, Boston Scott's there. And I'm like... Get the fuck out of here. Like, listen, I like Boston Scott is a fine late round fucking ad, right? But he's not going to fucking stop fucking Miles Sanders, right? For me, Miles Sanders is a lock top 6. I think he has upside. I think he has 100 target upside. I think he does. I think he has that 100 target upside in his range of outcomes. And so for me, like Miles Sanders is a stone cold lock. All right.
Go off, King. Let's go.
Yeah.
Dude,
I mean, I love
it.
I love
it's
it.
fucking ridiculous. I'm so tired of narrative street fucking Twitter, and that's all their takes are.
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. Just because he hasn't had good running backs in the past doesn't mean he won't ride Sanders now. I just wanted to look it up because you intrigued me. He had 63 targets as a rookie. So to make a 37 target jump, is that crazy? No, I don't think so.
Well,
Scott's going to be involved, right? But Sanders is going to just go off. I mean, it's a perfect situation.
Do you want to know the list of running backs that over the last 10 years that have finished their rookie season with 800 or more rushing yards and 500 or more receiving yards?
In the last 10 years?
10 years. It's Saquon Barkley and it's Miles Sanders. And that's it. End of list, baby. End.
Wow.
Done.
6 to midnight, real quick. 6 to midnight.
I'll have what is in the Penn State water. I will have.
Dude,
some.
I'm all in on Miles Sanders. I'm all in on the Eagles. Their offensive situation, it's wheels up this year.
Yep.
Like, give me all the wins.
Wentz
Wentz is gonna blow the freaking cover off the ball this year. Give me Miles Sanders. Give me all this. Give me all the damn Jalen Rager at like wide receiver.
Yes.
Give it to me.
Yes,
Yes.
it's pretty cheap. Jalen Rager's cheap as hell. Djax is cheap as hell. Alshon is cheap for the second half. Literally, yeah.
People get so sewn into their damn ADPs, man. Like people like last year, they were making fun of me for taking Dalvin Cook, who was like what, like in the early second round. They're like, why are you taking Dalvin Cook at the 105 at the top, like in the middle of the first round? I'm like, all right, y'all keep laughing, man. Same thing for Miles Sanders this year. That dude is going to ball the hell out this year.
I love it. I love the Eagles, and I love that Marquise Goodwin is going to win people GPPs too. Let's go.
Hey, man.
Go ahead, Kev.
No, and I was just gonna say, can we talk real quick about how the fuck Allen Robinson's going in the third round? Like that seems fucking ridiculous to me.
Well,
the dude that was third in total targets last year. I mean, the dude
all
was
the
a
wide
baller.
receivers are just pushed down because, like we talked about, everybody's just scooted all the running backs to the top.
Well, the Bears are
He's
gross
still
too.
going as
Nobody
what,
wants
wide- but
Bears.
it's not,
Nobody wants Bears.
And I
he's
think
going
there's
like,
another
what,
wide receiver 13, I think. Last time I looked, he was going like wide receiver 13 or something like that.
It's narrative, man. It all comes down to like teams, and some teams are sexy and some are not. Some are like people are just like, I don't like that player. I don't like the team that he's on. Like it's ridiculous.
He did it with
That's
Chase
kinda
Daniel and fucking sorry ass Mitch Trubisky last year.
And Blake Bortles.
and I think there's going to be
yeah.
And Blake Bortles, yeah. Exactly.
I mean, I think
if it's Foles, it's gonna be he's gonna be fine.
And Foles is gonna have to like literally have to break something again, like for it not to be him. Like get out of here with anybody that thinks it's gonna be Trubisky. Like
what
it's
is
just
the word
dumb,
in
man.
Chicago? Because I'm not, obviously I don't follow, that closely what's going on in Chicago. Like, what are they saying there
Competing
right now? Yeah,
competing that they're competing. But what else are they going to say? What else are you going to say? You have a quarterback who you passed up on that just is hosting the motherfucking Lombardi in Kansas City. And you have Mitch here that you drafted over him. So like you have to do that. You went out and got Foles and you're paying him all this money, yet you're not naming him the starter. But yet you went on and got everybody who had any type of relation to Nick Foles and brought them onto your coaching staff.
Yeah. Just give it time.
Like you might as well put his fucking family on the coaching staff.
And if it is as crazy as it is, it probably will be the best quarterback Allen Robinson's ever had. And I was just looking at both slot performance and deep target performance yesterday. I actually wrote an article on it, and it's crazy. Allen Robinson was targeted out of the slot. He didn't line up this much in the slot, but he was targeted percentage-wise out of the slot, third most in the league out of qualifying players. And he saw the third most deep targets in the league. So we're talking about a guy that is the offense. There's not that much target competition other than Anthony Miller being a good late-round guy. And he's going to get you bankable production in the middle of the field, and he's going to ball out deep because not only does he get those targets, he's so good, he comes down with those catches no matter who it is. So, yeah, he's such a great, solid third-round pick. It's ridiculous.
So to everybody's point about how much the running backs are pushing down wide receivers, where do y'all think Allen Robinson is going currently amongst wide receivers right now? Like he's in the middle 305. How many wide receivers do you think are being drafted ahead of him right now? Like where do you think he's at?
I just looked.
I think you said 13, Matty.
Nope.
Wide receiver 16.
Is it 15?
Nope.
Well,
You're
if he's
kidding.
going at 305
20?
now,
He's
he's
wide,
got to be going. He's got to be
17 or
going
8.
like 7 or 8 probably now. Maybe
wide
9.
receiver 7.
Yeah, so he's
Oh,
moved up. So
but
That's
he's
moved up.
crazy. Like there
that's
are
wild.
literally freaking 14 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, 2 possibly 3 tight ends going ahead of the wide receiver 7. That is
That's wild.
nuts, man. Like,
Wow.
good God, because I thought he was like somewhere in the 12 to 13 range because he was there previously, and I'm like, nah, man, he can't be at 7, but he is. But that's where 7 is going at.
And that's why you make sure you just get a stud running back if you can, and then start gobbling up these wide receivers.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, yeah.
Crazy.
And we're going to talk about more of them in the 4th through 8th round.
We'll get to the mid rounds. Maddie, I don't know if you want to chime in on anybody that hasn't been touched on in these rounds.
I like Kev's call on Eckler. I mean, I mentioned attacking the receiving running back. So Eckler and Miles Sanders are definitely the, first back into the first kind of early to mid second round guys that I'm trying to attack at the running back position. But if you're looking to go wide receiver at the end of the first round, really hard to get away from Devontae Adams. I mean, only behind Michael Thomas and Hopkins last year in terms of target share, and there's not really anybody else to catch passes from Rodgers other than
He's
Allen
my wide
Lazard.
receiver 1.
Yeah,
I got
but like
wide receiver 1.
he's legit got wide
Yeah.
receiver 1 ability here, especially this year. So I think Devontae Adams is your wide receiver 1. You take him at the end of the first round, and get a guy like Sanders or Eckler in the second round on the way back. So I think that's a good way you can start the draft there. But I also like in the second round, big George Kittle guy. I think he's tight end 1, and you're getting him behind Kelsey. And it's nothing against the Chiefs offense or Kelsey. It's just Kittle is so damn productive. I mean, he led the league last year in yards per route run, and it was by like almost 0.3 yards per route. It's an absurd gap. And with Debo a little bit banged up, coming into the year, and this San Francisco, I mean, Kittle was even banged up last year, and he's still absolutely demolished. So,
right.
I think back of the second round, George Kittle is a great way to get a top of the position guy. And then in the third round, I don't know why Odell Beckham is getting disrespect. I guess it's because of the down year he had last year, even though he still posted over 1,000 yards in a season where he should have just had surgery and sat out. I mean, dude's averaging over 13 yards per target in terms of depth of target. Like, he's getting the deep targets. Him and Landry basically split right down the middle in terms of target share, 25 and 26%. So, like, you're getting a wide receiver one there at the end of the third, beginning of the fourth round. It's just crazy to me that OBJ's fallen that far, considering how talented he is. And you look at his first 3 years in New York, double-digit touchdowns each of the 3 years and around 1,300 yards receiving, and wasn't even playing full seasons because he's always been injured. But, I mean, dude, if he can stay healthy.
Love it, Maddie. We're on the same page with Kittle. And I actually put Odell on my fourth round because actually, if you look at like best ball ADP with FFPC, he's an early fourth rounder, which blows my mind because you kind of touched on it. Yeah. I threw out there Allen Robinson led the league in deep was like top 3 in deep targets. Odell was second in the league in deep targets. And now look at what they're doing, right? It's going to be all 2 tight end sets, run the ball, play action. What do you think they're going to do when they hit him with the play action? They're going deep to Odell. I think it hits this year, and it hits in a big way. And you can get a guy like that in the third or fourth. Again, because of what these running backs are doing, I will take that all day.
I love Odell. I do have a little bit of concerns about how many targets, just raw targets, he gets this year. Only because, and I think this just comes down to what happened in Minnesota last year. And I'm not trying to fully transpose that over to Cleveland, but I think that some of this comes down to what you think about the Cleveland defense, because Minnesota was top 10 in passing rate when they were trailing last year. So I kind of lean on the side that I think the Cleveland defense is going to be good. So it kind of puts them in some more positive or neutral scripts. But can Odell pay off on the price? Absolutely. I see some guys going around him, like DJ Moore and Juju are going right next to him, and I just see that their target volume, I think, is going to be higher. But I think that Odell, honestly, like what Maddie's talking about, can we say that like that's probably safely his floor? Like, even if everything goes like terrible for him, is he going to get less than 1,000 yards at all? Like,
no, because we saw that last year. Like last year was his floor.
He had 75-ish receptions on 133 targets.
Right.
Yep.
Like, even if the volume goes down a little bit, as long as the efficiency goes up, which it should. Yep. I think Baker played pretty poorly last year, and there's not any way around it. But I don't think he can play any worse. And so, like you said, I think Odell can have the exact same season last year that he had last year, and he's not going to kill you at the end of the third, beginning of the fourth round.
Well, you just saw Stefanski coax a career best touchdown percentage out of Kirk Cousins and almost a career best completion percentage. Yeah, I think we see a better offense.
They run a lot of play action too, don't they?
They're really close in play action rates. So, I think that's being overstated a little bit by the community. Like, they were really, really close. I'd have to pull it up real quick, but it wasn't that got really thrown out into the Twitter sphere. And
wasn't Baker way better though off the play action?
Baker was really good off of play action. The problem with Baker is he was terrible when they weren't running play action. That was his biggest problem. It's like he was great during play action last year, but you take him out of play action and it was bad. Like, I don't know what he was seeing ghosts.
I feel like the Browns have to know that. I just feel like so much play action is coming with their personnel this year. They traded for the freaking Broncos fullback. Like, we know what they're going to do. It's going to be a lot of running, a lot of play action.
Yeah, so last year, Minnesota was 9th in play action. Cleveland was 12th. Like, you're looking at 30 versus 28%. So I think that's been a little bit overstated by the community a little bit. Like, as far as how much more they're going to run.
And
Yeah.
just real quick on the George Kittle thing. Like I love George Kittle, but 212 is way too rich for me. Like I would rather wait 2 full rounds to get Mark Andrews that you can get in the 4th round. I think
Why?
Mark Andrews has tight end 1 upside. Like he did it last year
I don't
on very
disagree
little
with that.
volume. And I think you're going to see a little bit more volume coming his way. I know he was super efficient on the volume that he had, but I definitely think
Crazy
you can see a bump.
efficient though. He was crazy efficient. Like you're literally getting Mark Andrews he reminds me of like a Jeremy Shockey or Todd Heap type of player who's going to go out there and ball like what the position is. But George Kittle is a wide receiver who is just happens to be at the tight end position. Like how we treat him like he is a tight end because of the designation.
This isn't a knock against George Kittle. It's just I don't like taking tight ends in the 2nd round. Like I think that the players that are still on the board there, I would prefer over taking a tight end. And I feel like,
but the production you're getting at the position is the production,
right? But Mark Andrews can certainly come very close to what those guys are going to give you.
He could,
and you're getting it 2 rounds later.
Okay, but I'm saying he could, but with George Kittle, he's running out there with a wide receiver corps that is not one of the best units in the league whatsoever, especially if Deebo's not going to be out there.
Yeah,
what
same
has
for
Baltimore got?
Kevin,
Baltimore's got a Lamar Jackson who's going to run it up the field, where Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have that position. He doesn't have that. He doesn't even know who's going to be out there in the backfield. And in Jimmy G, he's going to have to check down like he does. And Kittle's the primary opportunity of that. I mean, we saw that happen in the Super Bowl as well. Like he just loves Kittle, and Kittle is always going to have those targets. Yes, Mark Andrews was efficient last year. And so if you get that similar production last year, that's going to be good. So many times Mark Andrews was going out there through the first 3 quarters and he would have, 5 or 6 targets and only, 20 or 40 yards. And he would get this deep bomb later on that would help his production and boost his numbers up. I just think that he could be there, but you're consistently getting production out of Kittle that the tight end moniker around him just does not equate to what you're getting out of that player. Yeah, so you're saying you don't like taking a tight end that early, but it's
not like he only had like 40 targets last year. He had 98 targets. He only played 40% of snaps. Like when he was in there, he was getting targeted. He's not somebody that they're going to go in there and use as a, like inline blocker or anything like that. Like he's clearly a receiving tight end, but the dude's a baller. He's like his talent is real. Like he's not some he's not a one-hit wonder is what I'm saying. And so if I can get him 2 rounds later, and I think you could see him in that 100, 110 targets range again. He's certainly somebody that could put up the same type of numbers. He scored 10 touchdowns last year. He was number 1 in deep targets. He received 24% of the target share, which was 3rd. Like, there's still lots of like here. He had 64 receptions, 852 yards. It wasn't like he only had 30 receptions and he just happened to, all of his were deep targets or something like that. Like, so for me, he's clearly still the best option they have. Yes, Marquis Brown is there as the field stretcher, and they are still a run-first offense, which is the same as San Francisco. And so I don't think there's a huge gap between George Kittle, Travis Kelce, and Mark Andrews. For me, it's the big 3. But if I can get the one 2 rounds later, I'm going to go that route and go, running back or wide receiver in those early rounds. And then I'll take Mark. If I want to take a tight end early, I'm going to take Mark Andrews in the 4th.
The argument for it.
So, I mean, Mark Andrews is right up there. He was 2nd behind George Kittle in yards per route run at 2.8. So, yes, he is a very, very good tight end and the 2nd best in the league in that metric. My argument for Kittle is not necessarily – I do agree. Like, Mark Andrews in the 4th round is a great pick. Right. My argument for Kittle is when I look at the draft board at the back end of the 2nd round and I see Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I see Chris Godwin, I see Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette, guys like that are still on the board. I want George Kittle over all those guys.
All day.
Now, when I get to the 4th round, I've got to make a tough decision between DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, Odell Beckham, Mark Andrews. Like, there's just way more for me to choose from in that 4th round that I'm not really going to probably take Mark Andrews over. I would feel much rather having George Kittle and DJ Moore over Mike Evans and Mark Andrews combo.
And if you're staring George Kittle in the face, but you decide to pass because you want to get Andrews later, and then Andrews gets taken, when we're talking about redraft and predictability, there's a lot of exciting tight ends later, but they're better best ball targets because they are going to be tough to predict. Are they going to hit all that stuff? When you can lock in Kittle and then start to pick apart some of these guys like Odell Beckham that we've talked about, like Matty D alluded to, I'm there as well, because you also are risking not only passing on Kittle, but you don't know if you're going to get Andrews as well, depending on how the draft shakes out. So,
yeah,
and a lot of drafts I've seen,
he doesn't. You're going to get a back into the 4, and I don't know that Andrews is going to make it.
He doesn't make it to the 4th in a lot of them.
Right.
That's my whole thing about Andrew. Like, I think that, and I don't want to sound like I'm just playing peacekeeper here. Yeah, I mean, currently Mark Andrews is going at 306. For me, I think that my takeaway from all of this is take Kittle, take Andrews, take whoever you want to. I think that the big takeaway for me is don't take Kelsey in the 1st. I think that's
Absolutely.
really what my major takeaway is. Like, I can make cases for Kittle and Andrews to both finish as tight end 1. Considering, and Kelsey could be absolutely amazing this year, but it's a hard pass to take Kelsey in the 1st when I'm making cases like guys you can get a round or 2 later. Like, I can make easy cases that they could be tight end 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's no way I would take Kelsey in the 1st round. No way.
Let's talk about some of these guys in the mid-tier rounds, and there's a lot of wide receivers here that we're going to touch on here in the 4th and 8th, and some running backs here as I'm looking through the list. So let's start it off talking about some guys. I guess I'll go because I didn't go in the last round, but I'm just going to move it along. And one of the guys who I put in the first 3 rounds who is potentially could be there in the 4th or 5th round is Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is a guy that I just love getting a part of. He's been Jared Goff's guy since he's been in the league. He's been his guy in the red zone. He's out-targeted Robert Woods in the red zone by 20. I think he has like 58, and then Robert Woods is behind him with 30. He's just been the security blanket that he leans on. I think at the end of the year, because the offensive line was so bad that he was having to do more low ADOT throws, which is why we saw Tyler Higbee's stats go way up, because he was getting peppered with targets because that offensive line was getting pressure on Jared Goff, and he does not do well with that. But Cooper Kupp has just been a prolific wide receiver. I mean, this guy was still wide receiver 4 last year, even with his stats kind of being down. Even when he's injured, he's still been a top of the list for wide receivers. And I just, we have this conversation about Robert Woods versus Cooper Kupp, but when I watch film of the Rams and when they need to make a big play, this is just the guy that he goes to. He catches everything that comes his way, and he's just been so reliable for Jared Goff in the way that Jared Goff loves to target him everywhere on the field. So Cooper Kupp is a guy for me. I think Keenan Allen's also a guy for me who's just being underlooked or overlooked, I should say, that people are just sleeping on. This guy is falling in. You can get him round 6, 7, 8 in drafts that's just crazy for a guy who's going to be a wide receiver 1. And I get it. Tyrod Taylor does not speak confidence into any situation that he's in. The last time we saw him with Cleveland did not look great, and Baker had to come in and save the day. But when you look at some of his numbers when he was with Buffalo, and Sammy Watkins was the wide receiver 1 when he was healthy, I mean, Sammy Watkins was putting up great stats, and Keenan Allen has just been such a prolific route runner and target for quarterbacks, of the like. And Phillip Rivers has been the main one of that. I think he's still just a wide receiver who's going to be in the top 24, and I don't think people are just looking at the value of him that way. And then another wide receiver or another player that I want to talk about is Mark Ingram too, in that Baltimore situation. I mean, Lamar Jackson was just so efficient last year, and Mark Ingram, time and time again, even when he was with Alvin Kamara there in New Orleans, like was still being able to put up numbers. And people were talking about Latavius Murray could replace him. He didn't in New Orleans, and you see what Mark Ingram's doing time and time again. Yes, he's a 30-year-old running back, but the way that the Ravens, run the ball and just establish established field position down your throat. Like Mark Ingram has a chance to really get double-digit touchdowns in this offense and get to that 1,000 yards that we saw a guy like Carlos Hyde do last year for the Texans. And where Mark Ingram's going is just so late. It makes no sense for you not to take this guy. Even if you already have two running backs on your team, 3 running backs on your team, you could just load up on wide receivers and then get this guy late where he's going. I just think that maybe it's the age, or maybe it's because Lamar Jackson's there and he was taking some of that rushing upside away from him. But Mark Ingram is definitely the guy. I don't trust guys like Gus Edwards to take that away from him. So those are the guys I'm looking at in these mid rounds. Cody, what say you about the mid rounds?
So I was going to throw this one out just so we could have a conversation about like the mid-round running backs who are getting pushed up, but we already kind of touched on it. But I'm still not off the bandwagon. I don't care how bad he was last year. David Montgomery, whenever you can get someone who's going to have 250, 260 touch upside in the late 4th round, I'm going to be all about that, especially with all the running backs who are being pushed up. Terry McLaurin is another one where you can get a team's wide receiver one who, even though they might not be quality targets, you're looking at him. He's probably locked in at 120, 130 targets with how bad that team is going to be this year. We touched on this guy a little bit earlier, but Marquis Brown, we look at what he did last year whenever he went into his rookie season with that foot injury right as everything was kicking off for them. And with what he was able to do now that he's potentially fully healthy, I think it's a team that's going to have to throw a little bit more. And I really like what the Ravens have done in terms of bringing Lamar along, starting with his rookie year to how they progressed him last year. I think we see a little bit more of that in 2020. And then the last one, we touched on this offense already, but Jarvis Landry just being completely disrespected once again. And you can get him in the 7th round, and you're looking at, we were talking about earlier, that target share being split down the middle between he and Odell. You're looking at someone who's going to have a 24, 25% target share. So getting that in the, I think he's going like mid 7th in most drafts right now. That's those are guys I'm going to be all over.
Maddie, what say you about the mid rounds, and who are you looking at?
Well, I'm really high on the Colts offense this year. T.Y. Hilton, he's another wide receiver, one that kind of got pushed down the board due to the running backs, going really high. He's going in the 5th round right now. That I was looking at the Colts roster earlier today, and it's T.Y. and Paris Campbell, and then they got Pittman on the outside as a rookie, and then Doyle. And other than that, I mean, they've got 3, they've got two good running backs, and then they've got Nakeem Hines, who can catch passes too. So, I mean, it's going to be the T.Y. Hilton show in Indy, and I think him in the 5th round is a great wide receiver pick there. Another guy with massive upside, which everybody always wants to call people injury prone, and I think the guys who are injury prone start the year. The ones that start the year injured are the guys that get hurt during the season. The guys that come in healthy, they're less likely to, get hurt during the year because they're not carrying lingering hamstring issues or trying to fight through something and, end up hurting something else, compensating for that injury.
Do it, Maddie. Do it.
It's Will Fuller season.
Yes. Did it.
I mean, Hopkins is gone. They've got Cooks in there, but we've seen how much, like, you look up the splits for Deshaun Watson with and without Will Fuller on the field, and it's absolutely absurd. I think he goes to like 2.5 touchdowns with Fuller on and is below 2 without him. So it's Will Fuller in like the 8th round, 9th round area is just way too much upside. And it's solely because people are, for the fear of drafting a guy who might get hurt. And I want to say he had 11 or 12 of his games last year were double digits. So there was a bit of consistency, and it wasn't just, those spike weeks that are, better suited for best ball. So he's a guy that I like in all formats. And then outside of that, Marvin Jones is another. This is like the wide receiver range down here. Marvin Jones piggybacks off the Kenny Galladay, Matt Stafford stack from earlier. It's just, Marvin Jones is just he's that dude, and he's very solid. He led the team in red zone targets last year, despite playing 2 less games than Galladay. So Marvin Jones he's gonna be the red zone guy, especially with Ebron no longer on the team as well. So I really like Marvin Jones down there.
So the Will Fuller one, like I really was gonna go Will Fuller. Then I looked, and Derek already had Will Fuller. I was like, well, shit, all right, I don't want to take the same one as him because I have Will Fuller. I think ranked wide receiver 20 right now, and I think I can feel better about moving him even higher. Like I love Will Fuller this year. He is being completely slept on. It's all about the injury and everything else that he's had, but all that's being baked out because where you can get him. Like his ceiling is so high in that offense without DeAndre Hopkins there. They have no tight ends, and I absolutely love Will Fuller. Like I like love he it. Easily could finish as a wide receiver 1 this year. Would not be surprised at all.
Love it. I think I saw somebody make the point that he was this year's AJ Green, and it's just everyone else is stressing it.
Come on.
Can't stress enough there. And Maddie, you touched on it. There's such a difference between a guy entering the season injured and somebody getting injured. I'm not going to try to predict those injuries. He's healthy now, and his upside is through the roof.
Man,
Cody, you're higher on Brandon Cooks, aren't you? Are you higher on Brandon Cooks than Will Fuller? Or no?
I mean, I think if they can both stay healthy, I would prefer Cooks.
Cooks has his own injuries.
I think Cooks is the better all-around wide receiver, just in terms of wide receiver play. I think Cooks is the better overall wide receiver. I mean, is this Kenny Stills' season? Is he going to be the last man standing? I think it's a legit.
He's a great flyer late.
Kiki Kuti, like
he's
Randall Cobb.
No, but for real, Stills is a great flyer late because if anything happens to Fuller or Cooks, he steps right in, and he's been with the team now for a year. I love him as like a deep dynasty stash, or just taking him last round at best ball and stuff like that. Yep.
Man, I love the Will Fuller call so damn much. I really do. I mean, like if you look at his last 23 games with Deshaun Watson, like 2017 to 2019. The dude is on a 100 target, 68 reception, almost 1,100 yards, and 9 touchdown pace, like over 16 games. Like, you look at what they did, and all this is fresh in my mind. I just got done with my Texans write-up. They first year under Kelly, they did change the offense some from what Bill O'Brien had done. The deep ball attempts went up for 3.9 to 5.4 for Deshaun. So and they started running more 11 personnel. I want to say they went up around like 8% from the previous season. So the Randall Cobb signing does make sense in that. So I do like him as like a late round guy. But like Will Fuller, oh my God, it just fits what they want to do on offense, man. They want to chuck it freaking deep, and they can do so. Like Watson's going to have more time. His time to throw has decreased like over the last 3 years, every single season. I'm all aboard the Texans right now, man. Like, I think Fuller is going to freaking smash. Like, he's going as wide receiver 32 right now. Give me that all day. Like, I do not care about his injury history at all. He's second year coming off an ACL. Like, if you look at, like, a lot of players that come off of ACL injuries, and I know he's had a lot of soft tissue stuff besides all of that. But second year ACLs, Dalvin Cook stayed healthy for most of the season last year, and he's a running back. Like, these guys have more nagging things as they're trying this. We could easily say like this is close to like what the healthiest offseason outside. I think he had like one elective surgery that Will Fuller's coming off of in the last few years. The rapport is there. Like to the Cooks take, I like Brandon Cooks, man. The concussion scared the bejesus out of me. He's still got the freaking talent, but if we're going to talk about like all these different things about a different offseason, Fuller knows the system. The rapport is there with Watson. Like that is there from day one, man. Like, so I love Will Fuller. I love Cody's take on Terry McLaurin. I want every bit of Terry McLaurin. Scott Turner's going to have this. They're going to be passing the ball like crazy. The Panthers were second in passing attempts in the NFL last year. So it does not matter what you think about Dwayne Haskins.
I think Haskins is good, personally.
I don't think he has to, like, even he doesn't have a high benchmark, like, to hit for McLaurin to pay off.
I think Haskins is a serviceable NFL quarterback.
Like, last year, nothing really changed a whole lot with McLaurin. I mean, with Haskins under center, you just saw McLaurin's touchdown rate fell to nothing. Like, in the 6 games he was with Case Keenum, if you took that and paced him out, he would have been the wide receiver 8, 13, 7, and 7 over the last 4 years. So that's the type of ceiling, if we can get just Case Keenum type of play out of out of Dwayne Haskins. The last two guys I got to mention real quick is DJ Chark. The Jaguars are going to be god awful. Chark, before he got hurt last year, was the wide receiver 8 in points per game. He's the number 1 there. If he gets any more slot time, he balled out in the slot when he was there last year. I think Gruden treats him as the true alpha, which AJ Green saw a 30% target share during his years with Jay Gruden. And Cam Akers, I mean, like, I don't have anything else to add to Cam Akers besides just draft the damn dude. He's going as the running back 25, 26 in a lot of different drafts. He's in a top 10 offense. He's easily the most talented player on that freaking depth chart. I don't care what you think about the offensive line. They can be middle of the road, and they're top 5 in red zone attempts per game last year, as much as, like, people want to crap on the offense. Like, what else do you want? Like, you're taking him at an RB3 price, and he legit has top 20, if not top 15 upside. Like, if not even more. And I'm not going to get hyperbolic like here, but, like, it's ridiculous. And people want to talk to me about Darrell Henderson. Get the hell out of here. Like, I will mute you so damn fast on Twitter, it will make your freaking head spin.
I mean, if you're talking about a rookie running back who's going to come in and get work right away, even with all the COVID stuff going on, it's got to be Cam Akers. Of, like, if you said no offseason or whatever, no camp, we're just going to go into game 1, Cam Akers would be the rookie that I would peg game 1 to have the biggest share of action among the rookie running backs, because, I mean, Darrell Henderson, Malcolm Brown, John Kelly, like, those are 3 guys with no draft capital, really, other than Henderson was a 3rd-round pick, but the Rams just spent a 2nd-rounder on Akers. And those guys have a combined, 200 carries in their career?
Well, we've talked about this, I mean, in DMs like crazy, Maddie. Like, I don't think that we see this same offense, man. Like, you look at what they did in the draft. You look at what all they did entire offseason. People want to crap on their offensive line, and I don't – how can we look at all of their offseason moves and sit here and think that they're definitively going to go back to 12 personnel? Like, that wasn't working amazingly. Like, this down the stretch, like, I get people want Tyler Higbee to be a thing, but Gerald Everett was hurt. The offensive line was hurt. If they're just simply healthier, I think they spread it back out, man. Like, I think they go back to running more zone concepts. Gurley had no ability to cut on a dime. He could not run zone to save his life. That's why they went heavier. That's why they went, let's get him downhill and then just feed him volume, man. Like,
I agree. And
So
perhaps my favorite part of Akers was he could catch the ball out of the backfield. Like, I think he's going to be the pass catcher there. And Gurley only had 55% of the carries last year for the Rams, but he still had close to 80 targets. So, I mean, if Akers even sniffs that, like, give him 55% of the carries and give him 60 targets, and I'll gladly take that in the 5th round, 6th round.
I think the Rams offense as a whole is being undervalued. Like, I think
I agree. Jared Goff is insanely cheap.
When people say
Robert
Wood or
Woods,
Cup,
Cooper
I say
Kupp,
why not both? Like, literally, like, why not both?
I think it's just recency bias, right? I mean, the year before they were one of the top 5 best offenses in the league, and now
now McVay's a bum, Kev. Have you not heard? Per Twitter, he's a bum.
Right, exactly.
Like, Goff's still a top 10 scoring
Exactly.
offense, but he's a bum now.
Goff led the NFL in pass attempts last year.
Oh, don't get it twisted. Yeah. Jared Goff is a straight fucking bum, but for fantasy purposes,
he's so cheap, like Maddie said.
Yes, I love him for fantasy. As a real NFL quarterback, he's fucking terrible. But that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
Oh my god,
hilarious!
I mean, half the league is terrible.
I mean, he's Derek Carr, right? Like, that's we don't need to go. We've had this conversation multiple times. Okay?
I've heard this conversation already.
We've had it.
I know. I've heard you have it with Maddie,
okay? And I'm right.
We're not going to go through that.
We saw it last year. Okay, we saw what happens. Okay,
he's baiting.
Regardless.
Oh yeah, he is hardcore.
He definitely is. I actually think I'm with him on that one.
Regardless, okay. I think the Rams and I think the Steelers are probably the 2 most undervalued offenses in football right now. For me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Rams by a mile. Yeah. Like, it's not even like close to me. Like, I worry a little bit about James Conner.
Right. There's that, but I mean, I think James Conner has. You could make an argument, has just as high, if not higher, ceiling than what Cam Akers has. He's definitely going to get that backfield to himself. I think the biggest key is if Big Ben can stay healthy. If he stays healthy,
Same with
this
Connor.
offense takes a big step forward. Right, like Juju returns to being probably feel much better about him being that guy again.
Team Juju.
Yes, and then you have Deontay Johnson, which this is. I think that he has wide receiver 2 upside certainly in him. I think James Washington as a field stretcher, James
Washington's super underrated.
And, if he does go down, if James Conner goes down, you have Anthony McFarland that you can get in the 12th, 13th round that I absolutely love. The dude's a beast. He's a baller. He led all rookie running backs last year in yards created, and I like some Anthony McFarland as well. So I think the Steelers are also a really undervalued offense.
Can we, since we're out here just squashing narratives and hurting people's souls right now, I want to get it out there into the space that, like, can we just absolutely just murder the narrative of Juju is going to go back and see more time in the slot? He saw more time in the slot last year.
Yeah, he saw more time in the slot last year than he did the year before. He actually played 66% of the snap. 66% of his snaps last year were in the slot, which was up from last year where he ran 61% of his snaps from slot.
He was in the slot more last year. So you're telling me, okay, if anything, that should hurt your case. Shut up. He did not leave the slot. Anyway, all right.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick before we move on, I just want to get this question here since Travis is still rocking it in the YouTube chat with us. He asked a question earlier. He has a Superflex half PPR dynasty trade offer. Somebody wants his Wentz, Rager, and Akers for Lamar.
Hell no.
No
way in hell. That's not even close.
Not even close.
You've got a QB1, a future RB1, and a future wide receiver 1.
Kidding me?
No.
Hell no. Hell no. Hell no.
Even with the caveat that follows.
Tell that guy to fuck off.
No. Yeah, you tell him do not come back at me with that. Are you sending him
Cody said for Lamar, and I was like, what else? Just Lamar? That's it?
That's the most
ridiculous,
insane offer. I saw that earlier, and I was just like, just say no, man. Hell no.
No, I absolutely prefer the Wentz side as well. But then he had the caveat of he was planning on punting. So I was saying, if you already have picks lined up, if you're planning on punting, if you have a plan in,
if you're punting, you're giving away 2 rookies.
If you're
this is the kind
why
of
would
move you make when you're rebuilding. That's the kind of move you should make when you're rebuilding. I want the Wentz side when I'm rebuilding.
You want the Ragers
That's
of the world.
Terrible offer.
The Ragers and the Akers. Absolutely.
Especially is this so it says Superflex. Even in Superflex, this is terrible.
Well, and two, it's we just went through a draft, which probably is going to be we don't know what the 2021 draft is going to be like. So even with the players who are out there, which are great college prospects who are supposed to be coming out, and that draft could be deep, but we don't know what the season will hold for them or what it will even look like. So you just invested all of this capital in great guys in Akers and Rager. To go with Wentz there, who seems to be established there as the future, and why would you even expend all that capital on what could be?
You're being too nice explaining it. That was a terrible offer. It doesn't
I'm just
matter.
laughing too, thinking about it, because if you're punting, you're usually at least getting future first round picks, and you're giving So no, don't do that.
Right?
No. You need to stay in the dynasty slack, my friend. If you're getting offers like that, just so that Kev can tell you what to malign the owner with, because that's a terrible offer.
I love Kamiko Cotton on the Facebook commenting, "Send me a Western Union with that trade." I love that. Just went up there live. Oh man. Let's talk about some late round sleepers, guys. And Cody, as we talk about Jalen Rager, I know that is one of your guys there. But yeah, let's get into the late round sleeper conversation and where people really expect to win their fantasy leagues and their drafts here, where you could get a leg up on the competition. So rounds 9 and 16 are where these guys are probably going to be going at ADP. Cody started off with the Rager talk.
Yeah, Dynasty wide receiver 1. I'll just say it. I don't give a shit. Dynasty wide receiver 1, redraft wide receiver 1 for rookies. I'm on
board. I agree.
Let's go, baby.
I agree.
I've got no problem with it.
Let's go.
I was expecting a little pushback there.
Hell no, you came to the wrong spot, dude.
900-yard season for Rager coming.
Yep.
He's a complete wide receiver. If anybody wants to come out with it, he was just a field stretcher. Like, you need to.
If he had a college quarterback, we'd be having a completely different conversation.
Yep, and look at his sophomore season regardless.
I think the Raiders
talk to
would
me
have
about
taken him over.
concentration drops. That's garbage.
Raiders would have taken him
watch
over
them games,
Rogers,
baby.
too.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I think Wentz has started to move up finally in rankings and in ADP. I think he was going outside of. I think he was going like QB 13 earlier in the season. I think he's now finally cracking like the top 8, 9, 10. So, are we just going to ignore the fact of what Wentz did last year with Greg fucking Ward? Obviously, he had the
DFS. Hey, I still remember. I will never forget Greg Ward.
Hey, baby.
DFS.
Greg Ward was great in DFS. We will not besmirch Greg Ward.
I
Maddie.
would besmirch Greg Ward right now, just with the making the transition to having a stud like Jalen Reagor. Get the fuck out of here with Alshon Jeffrey. Fuck, like he's get him all the fucking way out of here. He shouldn't be drafted. Don't
I love it.
do that.
He did.
I mean, who else do they have? I mean, fucking
Sean Jackson is there. I mean, he's still there.
They have Sanders, they have Ertz, and they have Goddard. That's it.
D-Jax is one Instagram comment away from not being here anymore.
D-Jax is
that's some real shit, Matty.
Yep.
Hey,
he really
D-Jax
is,
was
man.
live with Magic City with Lou Williams. DJ
Yeah, right.
Magic City with Lou Williams, so he's done.
But yeah, he's going wide receiver 48 right now. It just makes no fucking
Crazy.
sense whatsoever. So if you can get him at that point, I'm not exactly sure what his actual ADP is. But if you can get
Like
him,
11th round.
Yeah, give me a sec. I can pull it up for you.
so 4for4 has him at wide receiver 50, actually,
Yep.
ADP of 1205.
And I've got 11. So yeah, we're close.
Yeah, that's way too cheap.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I think fantasy calculator, he's going at he's 11th round.
People look at the speed and they want to talk about how he's just a field stretcher, and I'm like, what are you watching, bro?
No,
like,
so that's it. But that's people that don't.
He's
Yeah,
an
they don't
X receiver.
Yeah.
He's an X receiver. Like, let's get this
You
out
can
of here,
put
man.
him.
Like,
You can put him anywhere.
Isn't he about the same size as Odell Beckham? I'm pretty sure it's pretty similar. If I'm not
if
mistaken.
not, I'd have to go look.
Yeah.
But like,
He's a
I'll pull it
baller.
up.
He's a straight
his
baller.
his film was probably my favorite to watch out of
I have
any
seen
rookie
him
in
set-
the class.
like-
The dude is just an absolute beast.
to your point, Ben, just watch 2 games, man. And I keep saying it over and over until people want to actually go watch the 2 damn games that I'm talking about. Go to 2018. Ohio State and West Virginia, man. 2 high volume games. And you see this dude fed targets, and you see him used in what looked like a competent offense. 2019, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. They had some like junior high kid trying to like coordinate an offense or something. Because like I got no clues, man. It's insane, man. Rager is so slept on, dude. Like, if you can acquire him in any dynasty league, I know we're talking about all redraft, but like, if anybody is like looking at this dude and disrespecting him, get him on your freaking team. He is a stud.
Odell is 5'11", 198. Rager's 5'11", 206. Like, I feel like people talk about him like he's like Marquise Goodwin. The
They
dude
talk
is
about him like he's Percy
206.
Harvin, Ben. That's
Yeah.
that's the comp.
206
something
was
of that mind.
98th percentile in burst score.
Which
Oh,
people
yeah.
said the same
He's a
thing about Tyreek Hill for a while too.
Got to get the Chiefs in
That
here,
is
huh?
true.
Well, hey,
That is true.
Got to
But-
get the Chiefs in here.
But wait,
He
but with
always
that
finds a
position,
way, Debo.
no,
Speaking of Mecole Hardman,
no, it's gonna,
Life
Right,
finds
right.
a way, Ben.
No.
Life finds a way.
you see the show sheet. It's right in front of you. You can see who it is. So you know it's not going to be McCall Hardman. Though I do like McCall Hardman as a late round flyer, but you brought him up. I wasn't going to say
I do
it.
too. I do too.
Okay? Wasn't going to say it. I was actually going to say Justin Jefferson as a transition to another rookie wide receiver. You dicks. Okay?
All right, I'm interested to hear this one.
Anyways, this is actually what happened back in February. We were talking about Justin Jefferson going to the Vikings, and that's when Ben was like, said something about Tyler Johnson, and it completely fucked me up. All right?
Dude, like, almost fell out of his chair.
You're not going to get me now, okay? Anyways, Justin Jefferson, I think is certainly in the same conversation as Jalen Reagor. And I know he's not going to see the same volume, at least in terms of he's not on the same offense that's going to be looking for that kind of production. They're not going to be in the top 10 in pass volume this year, unless only way I could see that is that I do think that defense is certainly going to take a little bit of a step back than what defense we've seen in years past. He is clearly the number 2 wide receiver in that offense. The only other player they have is Olabisi Johnson. I'm okay that the fact that he's now listed as COVID to start this whole thing, because now in my head I don't have to worry about him getting it the rest of the year, where everybody else still has the landmine for it. I'm not going to plan that at all, but I don't mind seeing that he's already had it. Regardless of that, I just think him being the number 2 target in this offense, if anything were to happen to Adam Thielen is turning 30 years old this year. I'm not calling that. I still think Adam Thielen is certainly the man to have in that offense. However, there's like a 9-round gap or 8-round gap between where the two of them are going. I don't think that I think that he was going to primary play in the slot. I like all of those things about him. I think expecting somewhere in the range of 80 to 100 targets is certainly the range of his possibility, range of his outcome. Maybe 100 is probably a little high. Probably 70 to 90 is probably a little bit more fair for him. But going in the 11th round, I think there's a lot of upside there for him. And there's certainly, if anything were to happen to Thielen, then it's absolute wheels up for Justin Jefferson because they have nobody else.
Excuse me, Irv Smith is there, baby. Sorry.
No, I said nobody else was there. I said what I said.
Yeah, I know, and I got to correct you because you're wrong. But anyway.
Irv, baby.
Oh, man. Hey, Gary Kubiak taking over the reins there, too, in Minnesota, I think can help with the wide receiver situation as well, too, with Kirk Cousins. This dude's got some wide receivers under his belt, wherever he's been. Demaryius Thomas, Andre Johnson, Rod Smith, and back in the day. So I love Gary Kubiak offenses. I think they're fun. So I hate siding with Kev, but
that's Super Bowl 50 champion Gary Kubiak.
You always remember that if you side on my side, you're always gonna win. Like that is what we should remember from all this. Okay.
So moving on in the show.
What I'm gonna do?
That's Tyler Johnson to me.
When I'm editing this, I want to write down these takes that we have, and I want to have a review pod at the end of the year to see where we all come out in this and who was right and who was wrong.
All right, because we already got one bet locked up.
So. My success rate is going to be through the roof.
Child, please.
You're already $20 in the hole, Kev. So.
Oh, that's straight cash, homie. Straight like Randy Moss said. All right, one clap.
Derek,
keeping it on the sleeper wide receivers. Ben, you want to talk about yours? Because I have another wide receiver too around that range.
Not super sexy because I do like Mecole Hardman. I do like Christian Kirk, guys like that. But I just kind of want to take this time to just say it's insane that in FFPC best ball drafts, Golden Tate's ADP is wide receiver 58.
I think it's fair. I think that's actually fair, but keep going.
Really. It's not sexy, but the dude – see, and part of this is I'm not a Darius Slayton guy at all. I think that last year was a lot of due to a lot of injuries, and he made most of the situation.
My name's Derek. I love Darius Slayton. How are you?
Hey, I'm about to take a crap all over you.
And then Sterling Shepard, is he dead? Did Sterling Shepard die?
Oh, no,
I just think a lot of it was with a lot of injuries, and he made the most of a situation. But we sometimes see some of these rookie wide receivers that they're about to take off, and it doesn't happen. I just think Golden Tate so reliable. I like Sterling Shepard a lot too, and I actually think getting both of them where you can get them is a solid strategy. Excuse me, especially in best ball because they're so cheap. But I think part of it is he was suspended, so he didn't play the whole year. But you look at what he did when he played. Golden Tate was reliable, scored 6 touchdowns in limited time, and he's just. I wouldn't be talking about him, but he's so cheap that I got to.
I feel like it's probably that's because he's like probably the 4th option, maybe the 5th option.
See, that's just where we disagree.
I mean, Evan Ingram again, if he stays healthy, and then you have obviously Saquon. I think it is certainly in there, and then you have Darius Slayton. I think Shepard is too. So I mean, where is he coming in targets? Now, of course, this is a team that has suffered with injuries with. Obviously, Evan Ingram, and you have Sterling Shepard, who continuously keeps getting concussions. So certainly that could change with Golden Tate. But I just feel like Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard are redundant assets, and I'd rather have the cheaper one.
They are
the younger one.
They are, but they both produced when they were on the field last year, which again was questionable because they were both out. But that's just kind of what it comes down to. Like I already said, is I'm just not really buying into Slayton. You are, and that's the difference for us.
Yeah, I love Slayton. I'm not even going to back off of it. I absolutely love the guy. I think that if he was on a different team, the narrative around him would be crafted quite differently. Like if we were talking about a rookie wide receiver that was drafted in the 5th round that blew up in his first season, when he was given an opportunity, he was the wide receiver 26 after he became a starter, 740 yards and 8 touchdowns. And you apply that to anybody with a different name on a different team, I think that the narrative around Darius Slayton would be different. But anyway, I'll rest my case.
No, that's fair. It's very fair.
I know Maddie kind of talked about the Colts earlier. I'm going to double down on it, man. I love Paris Campbell. I get it's the new sexy thing to talk about, like whatever Frank Reich is hyping up and the new 2nd round pick of this year. But anybody that thinks that Michael Pittman is going to come off the street and play X receiver and win and succeed from day one, I think is not really understanding. Like that's a little bit harder to do than what you're talking about. Paris Campbell is going to run from the slot. Reich has designed an offense that has been below the league average in ADOT for the last 5 years by 0.8. So you're talking about short area targets. You have a guy that's running from the slot, and he runs a 4-3. 33% of his targets last year were bubble screens. You have a quarterback that, for as much crap as people try to give Phillip Rivers, he is better than Jacoby Brissett. He is an upgrade in what they're going to ask him to do. Both of those quarterbacks, their deep balls are bad, really bad, like outside the top 20, 25 bad in accuracies. But where Rivers succeeds is short, intermediate, and off of play action. Like he's top 12 in both of those completion percentage metrics. And that's what Reich is going to ask him to do. And that's right in Paris Campbell's wheelhouse, man. Like I don't understand how in the absolute hell he is wide receiver 65 right now. That is absolute insanity to me because even you look at last year, Frank Reich's offense over multiple stops. You're talking about the Chargers. You're talking about the Eagles. You're talking about previous Colts before the Jacoby Brissett year. They were never, ever outside the top 14 in passing attempts, and they were 24th last year. They are going to throw the ball, and people are like, okay, they're going to run it too. They can do both. Like, that is not unheard of. They did both in 2018 with Andrew Luck. That just comes down to pace. So they can run the ball, and Paris Campbell is going to ball out this year. So if you held on to him in Dynasty, if you want to get him in redraft, congrats. You're going to love him.
I love that call. I've been talking about Paris Campbell since fucking February for Dynasty, and then once redraft and best ball and all that shit came out. Because I love Michael Pittman as a prospect, but
yeah, I'm not hating on Pittman. That's not me. Like, I'm not hating on him, but he's asked to win and what he's going to do, Paris Campbell's second year, and he's in an easier spot to win easily in this offense.
Right, and with T.Y. Hilton the past 2 years, 76 and 77% of his snaps have come from outside. Like you would think T.Y. might be an inside guy. He's an outside guy. So Paris is going to have that all to himself.
Yep. I love it, man. Like, I just don't understand. Like, it makes no sense. Like, his ADP and Rager's ADP just blow me away. It's kind of like you don't want to have too much exposure to certain players, but it's like
once you get to that point.
Yeah, but when you get there at the draft, I mean, why not? Because their ADP is not creeping up. And I get to that point in the draft, and I'm like, sure, I'll take him again. Take him again.
Why not?
Give it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take all of it.
At those costs, yeah. I like it. I like that call on Campbell for sure.
So, what do you think happens with Zach Pascal?
Nothing. He doesn't play.
Do you think he plays? Do you think he starts? Because Pittman's probably going to start on the outside.
I think there's a shot that he's their slot.
He's not going to play in the slot.
No, Paris Campbell's playing the slot unless they run 4 wide, and I don't see them doing that.
No, they run a lot of 11.
He played 72 targets. The whole time in the offense thing doesn't really matter all that much. They have neither one of them, Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell, have no rapport with Phillip Rivers. So that is it is what it is. And to me, can Paris Campbell win more than just being a deep threat, right? Because I think that's the question.
He wasn't a deep threat though last year.
Right. That's not what I'm saying. But that is, I think, what people you look at him like because of his speed and everything else.
Well, they're looking at him wrong then.
And so I think that's why Paris Campbell has fallen the way that he has, and that's why there is no hype surrounding him. But I do think that this offense, there is quite a few targets to go around, and I do think Zach Pascal is going to have a role in the offense. I mean, he has 75 targets last year.
Jack Doyle.
Yep.
Jack Doyle. And so I do think
tight end, Jack Doyle.
Doyle
I
rules,
think if they're
Captain Catch a Ball Down could be a top 10 tight end this year.
You better believe it.
I don't understand the Colts discount. Like,
yeah,
I don't know
how
big of a ceiling there is for Paris Campbell. I guess that would be my
I don't think there's a super high ceiling, but where you can get him so late, I mean, that's just kind of the same.
Sure, but I feel like in those
Golden Tate,
rounds, that is really all you're shooting for. Because if he doesn't start to pay off early,
That's
people are going
fair.
to drop him, right? Immediately. Nobody's holding on to Paris Campbell after 2 weeks if he hasn't done a whole lot.
What do you
That's just the way
mean
those
for him to
rounds
hit
are.
the ceiling though, Kev? You need volume, right?
I see what you're saying, but that's what when in those later rounds, like that is what people shoot for. Like people are not looking for a guy who may give me let's just say usable weeks, right? Like where he is at least a wide receiver 3 or I guess a flex, right? Or wide receiver 4. How many would you say that you think that he has this year? If the answer is because you should be looking for somebody in those rounds. I would say somebody that can give you probably 3 to 5, something like that. Because if not, you're going to cut them and you're going to move on. And so taking those guys short, he could pan out. I don't hate Paris Campbell. This isn't a Paris Campbell.
No. I get what you're saying.
It's kind of I guess it's devil's advocate a little bit.
So what I'll toss to you is T.Y. Hilton was banged up. We know how old is he now? 30, 31, soft tissue stuff.
Yeah,
I think it's fair to question if T.Y. goes down, if the passing attempts, because the passing attempts, let's get this out of the way, they are going up. That's definitive. They're going to go up. If T.Y. misses any games, like you're talking about Jefferson, if T.Y. misses any games, who's the one in this offense? Like, I don't think it's close. Like, I think Harris could be the one.
I think
it'd be Pittman. Yeah,
why?
I think it'd be Pittman.
Tell me why Pittman would be the one.
He is much more of a prototypical wide
monster.
receiver in terms of what he could do as for Phillip Rivers and what Phillip Rivers could do at this point of his career. Phillip Rivers cannot throw the deep ball anymore. Like that is gone. It is a complete duck. All right, whenever he does it.
So do you think Pittman's going to be running short routes?
That's where Pittman wins, though.
Yes, I think he's much more of a physical receiver. That's why I think you can see Pittman a lot more as well in the slot. I think they're going to move him all over the field. Like I think the hype that you've seen around Pittman from them, I think is real. Like I definitely think Michael. If I had to choose,
it's the same thing they said about Paris last year. It's just a different year, but everybody forgets.
No, it's not that. Again, I don't hate. But if I had to choose, if I'm on the clock, both of them are sitting there, and I want to take one of them, I'm taking Michael Pittman.
Oh, me too.
Of the time.
I'm Team Pittman, but I like both players. And Kev, this kind of the same points you're bringing up for Campbell can be brought up with Justin Jefferson too. So, it's kind of splitting hairs.
Right, and that's all you're looking for. That's why I said, like, if you want to take a shot on Campbell,
I don't
do it.
I get it.
There's upside
especially
there. Like
at the
people,
cost, yeah.
It's like N'Keal Harry, right? N'Keal Harry is another example. Last year, everybody loved N'Keal Harry. People were riding N'Keal Harry's dick, like. Right now, nobody is like everybody. Like you're starting to hear a little bit of excitement for N'Keal Harry, but it's nothing. And he could end up being the guy that none of us really are talking about. That could end up actually being the guy because he right now. I hope Cam Newton is the starter. He should be the starter, but you never know what could happen there. But
if he's healthy.
He is the absolute perfect target for Cam Newton and what Cam Newton looks at. And so, I mean, N'Keal Harry could actually be the answer of who's the best late round wide receiver. I mean, even if he finishes as like a wide receiver 3, right? Like that's still a credible value for where you probably drafted him if he continues to go in that 10th, 11th round range that he's going in. And so for him, like he certainly has that upside there. Of course, everything you draft around 10 to 15, 16, depending on how late your draft is all you're just hoping. And for most cases, those guys are probably being dropped. Those are the first guys you're looking to drop. You're moving on from them, right? Whoever it is, you need somebody. 3 guys go down with COVID, you have 2 of them. Those are the guys who are going to be dropping anyways. But for me, so that's why for me, like I shoot straight upside in the later rounds. Like I don't know how you guys do it. Like so that's why for me, I would never take Golden Tate ever because I don't think that in my mind he doesn't have the upside. Sure, he may have some weeks that he's usable. He certainly probably will. But I want that guy who can give me league win, or maybe not league winning, but could return incredible value on the investment there. If not, I'll move on after a couple of weeks and then start working the waiver wire because that's usually how it works.
That's 100% fair, Kevin. And I'll be honest, like the Tate call is more of a best ball call where you can just get some solid value late. But yeah, like typically I'm looking for that high upside, which I love that you brought up N'Keal Harry because I'm in on the sophomore year bounce back because like you said, who has Cam always had success to throwing the ball? The similar body types to N'Keal Harry. The dude's collegiate profile is flawless, and I think that he can definitely, outpay his price.
The thing is, they want him to they didn't do anything to address the weapons in the draft. They want this guy to take a step. Like, why else do you not address the weapons at all? Because people are like, they're going to go run heavy.
Jacoby Myers season is why.
I do like Jacoby Myers. And Edelman's old as hell. I love Jacoby Myers.
Edelman can still play, but like,
it's 34.
I think that they
Mohamed Sanu that they gave up a second round pick on. They got to make good on that value.
Oh, good gosh, yeah.
I mean, he's going to play. He's going to play.
Watch him be the quarterback.
You know they're going to use Mohamed Sanu this year as a quarterback at some point. Not a lot, but I'm sure
he'll throw a touchdown at Cam.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll do something crazy, man.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see that offense. I'm higher on Cam than I think some people are. Like everybody's like, oh, they're going to go so run heavy, and I'm like, with what? Sonny Michel?
Oh, I think
like, do you think how
Burkhead season, baby?
I think they're.
I'm not against Burkhead. Burkhead, you can get with like your literally last pick of a best ball draft. Like
Damian Harris is starting to gain some steam.
Derek, you think with these
like a passer, anyways?
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, yeah. Come on, bro.
But
I don't like
backs aren't good rushers either.
I don't like
running backs aren't good rushers.
I don't think that they're going to go pass heavy, but I think they're going to pass more than people are talking about. Like people are throwing out like 10 Tebow comps and all that kind of crap. Like,
yeah, that's a little much.
Like,
yeah, that's.
But the whole reason I think that is because the Patriots run a very very play action heavy offense. Cam. I mean, we can go look it up. Like, look at Cam's completion percentage. It went through the freaking roof whenever Turner was there, and they went super play action heavy. Cam was very accurate that year. So I think that considering all of those things, we could see more passing attempts. Like, I'm not talking about a ton. Do I think that they finish in the 16th or higher? That's fine. But the way that it's getting thrown out there is they're going to run the damn ball every down, and I don't think that's the case. I don't think they have a running back that can be, one, effective doing that, or two, hold up to the volume. Because, I mean, as much as we all want Damian Harris to be a thing, did anybody watch that dude play in preseason? Like, where's the burst? Like, where did that guy look special at any point?
They've also still got Burkhead and James White and Sonny Michel.
It's interchangeable. They'll use them all. But to your point, Derek, if Harry hits the ceiling that I think he can hit, which, I mean, he could be this year's DJ Chark. He could be Michael Gallup, Cortland Sutton. The weapons aren't as bad as we like to say because Edelman, he's old, but he can still ball. And Sanu, we like to make fun of the draft capital, but, I mean, Sanu can play. So, they bring in a few interesting tight ends, especially Asiasi. I'm interested to see what he can do. So, definitely a fascinating offense. I can't wait to watch.
I mean, they still have the worst offense in the league, I think. But
the worst?
Yeah.
In the league?
In the league?
Name a worse offense.
Kev, they're going to design this offense.
The Jets say hi. Hello.
No, I don't. Yeah. In terms of, are we talking about in terms of like entire offense, right? I would take the Jets. But the problem is, yes, 100%.
Are you just talking about like fantasy wide receiver assets, or what are we talking here?
No, I'm talking about. If we could switch offenses, I would take the Jets offense over the Patriots.
Do you want to make another bet? Like who scores more points? The Jets or the Patriots?
No, I'm fucked on that deal.
But we're talking about offense. I mean, teams have to score points to be a good offense, right, Kev?
Oh yeah, because the head coach has nothing to do with it.
I mean, we're just talking about it. Good offenses score points, right? Like, just saying.
Adam Gase is there, okay? So I won't bet on a fucking thing that has to do with it. But I'm talking about in just talent.
What he gonna talk about?
Yes.
Wow.
I would take the Jets offense.
I mean, it doesn't make me feel good because I don't agree with Kev at all in this statement. But
let's break this. No, we need to have this conversation because how I am fucking shocked because they have a 34-year-old Julian Edelman, right?
That can still win.
I guess.
He's still better than Crowder.
He did it last year. What do you mean you guess? He did.
Sweet.
He's old. So
Still
what?
better than
He
Crowder.
still played well.
Is he substantially better at this point in his career than Jamison Crowder? Is he
Oh,
substantially
good
better?
God.
better,
Come
but he's
on, man.
better.
Jameson can't even hold his jock on the outside. Get out of here with that. There's no
Okay.
way, dude.
Denzel Mims. Absolutely loved Denzel Mims.
I have questions.
I like
Like-
Mims. I still come back to like
I have
who
questions.
Like what?
do you think is better, Mims or Harry? We're
Harry.
matching up offenses here.
I mean, so
Harry.
I would take Denzel Mims.
Harry.
But it's also the unknown versus
Yeah.
what we saw last year, right? So that's probably clouding a little bit, right? Rashad Perriman. If what he was able to do
I'll
at
take
the end of the year
Perriman
in
over
Tampa,
Sanu.
okay, if he carries that over, all right, sweet. So we got that. And then at running back, yes, I know Le'Veon Bell is not the same Le'Veon Bell as he was, but I would still take him all day over any running back that the Patriots have.
Yeah, I'll take Lev Bell. So
Okay.
it's 2 out
So
of
we write that up.
2
All
out
right.
of 4.
So tight end, I'm going to take Chris Herndon over any fucking tight end that the Patriots have.
Yeah.
Or are you going to take a Patriots tight end?
No, I would take Herndon.
No, but you
And
have to
yet-
take that
and yet
Patriots
who's
you have
gonna
to take
score
that
more
Jets
points?
offensive line. You have to take that Jets O line, Kev.
The Jets O line is going to be improved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
but
did
that's
bring
not
in some
New England.
pieces.
They're still not great.
Let's
not
not pretend
New
like the
England.
New England
They're not even
offensive
close to
line is
New England.
fantastic.
That's pretty good.
New
Yeah.
New England's gonna be way better than the Jets. Mekhi Becton is not gonna fix that offensive line. McGovern, they got
Well,
it
of course,
center.
that's not the point. That's not the point I'm making. Adam Gase is a
You're
fucking
saying
idiot.
it's the more talent. And I'm telling you
yes.
straight up, the Patriots are going to score more points, so it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
that's a fact. Yeah, I mean,
It doesn't matter.
not even
like
gonna
it
be
doesn't
close.
matter talent when your coach is like religiously neutered
course.
all talent around him. Like he just shoots it off into the sun.
That's what I
So
said.
I just don't know. Like for example, so for me, my late round sleeper was going to be Jamison Crowder. Like this dude is coming off of 122 target season. No, but listen, Kev, listen. They just got rid of Jamal
I don't
Adams.
hate
This defense is going to be a dumpster, dude. They are going to
It was a
give up
dumpster
points.
beforehand too.
It was a dumpster beforehand. So like
Oh, yeah.
Jamison
They're
Crowder being
secondary,
in that
yeah.
position, I like him from a fantasy perspective. I'm not necessarily buying into.
I'll take your
a
bet.
Jets
I'll
offense.
take your bet. I'm taking it.
At
I'll
all.
take the Jets offense. I'll take the Jets offense
my
over the
God.
Patriots.
you're gonna take what? That
What-
they're gonna
in-
score more points
And what points per game?
Points per game would be the
than over the Patriots? Is that what I just heard, Kev?
I will
Kevin's
take-
immediately
How about
regretting that.
my headphones are?
This-
I don't
How
hear
are we
anything
doing
yet.
this? How are we
You
doing this?
stop.
I'm thinking about
So,
it. Hold on.
not only
Ryan,
is he
finish what you're
immediately
saying.
regretting
Finish
it.
what you're saying.
Ryan, put both
No,
on.
only-
He wants to hear this good, man.
Not only is he immediately regretting it, but
I
5
don't
minutes
regret it. I
prior,
don't
he
regret
said,
it.
"Will not
Ron,
put
No,
money."
the more I think
Pause.
about it, the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? The Patriots, one, is going to be an offense that's going to be very low scoring. They're going to rely on their defense because that's literally the only
their
thing.
defense is very good.
Their offense is,
Very
again, total shit. Like, there's nothing exciting about that offense. It wasn't exciting last year with Tom fucking Brady, but now all of a sudden we're expecting it to be so much better than what it was
Yeah.
last year, I guess. Whatever. So, however,
Who
again,
scored more points, Kev?
I will
You're
take
skirting it.
the Jets at another $20 bet. Would you like to take
Yes.
Yes,
Line
please.
it up. I've been trying
No,
to get you
this
to
is
do
me,
it.
Derek. I'm not
Yes.
giving this out to the entire room. Me and Derek.
Ah, he doesn't want to pay out.
Why? I fair bet to you.
All right.
I'm down with it. I'm down
I've
with it.
been on
Sign
it
me
from
up.
the
Put it on the
beginning.
board. I'm good. Yeah. I've
What
been
if you
trying
did
to
like,
talk you into this the last
I've-
10 minutes.
I feel like this is when Kev bet that the Rams wouldn't even make the playoffs.
I was a
couple years
year.
ago.
I was a year
when
early.
they
on
made
that.
it to the Super
year
Bowl.
early. Year early. What happened the next year? They didn't make the playoffs. I was just a year early on that. We'll see.
But they made it to the Super Bowl.
The
though.
year you made
that
the
you
bet,
bet
they
on.
made it to the Super Bowl. and he must have learned because that's when you bet the whole room. Kev bet the whole.
Kevin, I mean, it's just like not only are you betting on the offense, but like how many
betting on
Jets are you
games.
investing in your leagues? Like, seriously, show me the screenshots of where you have Lev Bell. Show me where you
What
have
Patriots
Denzel
are you
Mims.
betting
Show
on?
me-
What Patriots are you betting on? Are you
N'Keal
drafting a ton
Harry.
of Patriots?
N'Keal Harry.
I'm gonna draft James White.
Take N'Keal Harry. I would
I'll
take
take a
Edelman's
shot
old
on-
ass over him.
I'll take a
I'll
shot
take-
on Cam.
I'll take a shot on
redraft.
Cam.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be good. I can't wait.
How many Jets are you taking? You didn't answer the question, Kev. Who are you taking from the Jets?
Who's on your roster?
Who would I take if you're? It depends on how you're talking.
Yeah,
about it.
who is on your
I'm
roster?
asking you, who are you going to draft from the Jets? I mean, we're talking about targets. I haven't heard you bring up one Jet since they're so good.
We just went through the list. We just went through it, and it sounds like you
But
guys.
who are you drafting? We were
in-
talking about talent.
In
I didn't
Kev's,
say you take any of those
in
guys.
Kev's defense,
Kev-
he's not saying the Jets are good. He's just saying they don't smell as much like shit as the Patriots do. In Kev's defense.
Yeah,
He's
if
not
they're
saying
just
they're
winning
good, they're
games,
just
look
less
like
bad.
Adam Gase off that offense? I think that they would be a
You
team.
can't. Well, yeah, but that's not the point.
Yeah. I mean,
But I still
I think
feel,
that's Kev's point. He's
but
just
I
not
still feel like the Patriots are the worst offense in the league, and I would still take an Adam Gase-led fucking offense over anything the Patriots are going to be running out there.
Okay, now do the Bears.
That's
That's easy. That's blouses.
I was trying to get a rise out of Ryan.
You're not gonna get a rise out of me when you talk facts.
You'd be better off comparing the Redskins, I guess, to the Patriots. And I still would take Redskins over them.
Oh my God. Oh
Sweet.
no. Okay, Kev, I'll make that bet.
All right, so
We've been potting
let's-
too long.
Let's round it out with late
Are the
round
Patriots
QB.
even gonna,
So-
Patriots even going to average over 20 points a game this year? Are they?
I don't
gonna-
give a crap how much they average. They're going to average more than the Jets. That's all I care about.
Kev, you just locked in betting on Adam Gase over Bill Belichick and then had the audacity to say that Washington has a better offense. Washington,
It's
whose
ridiculous.
wide receiver 2 is an undrafted Kansas Steven Sims. And they have no
Yeah.
tight ends. They're all their running
Antonio
backs are
Gibson.
shit.
Just give me Terry McLaurin. That's all you
Oh,
need.
I'm going to video. I don't know what I'm going to spend this $20 on, but I swear to God, I'm going to video what I spend it on. It's got to be something.
If
It's going to be the
Dwayne-
best $20 I ever spent. Oh,
If Dwayne Haskins turns into Cam Newton, that will be an incredible success for his career.
That's a pretty high bar.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
the point.
I just this is like taking candy from a baby here from these people. That's all
All
I
right.
can say.
All right, take
Late-
my
I
Cam.
can't believe
round-
you guys are
late
betting.
round
I don't give a
quarterback.
shit. What?
Late round quarterback who can win the championship. So Kev, just talk gospel on Sam Darnold, please.
I like
Talk
it.
gospel
Dude,
on Sam
hey,
Darnold.
don't hate on Sam
And
Darnold.
Haskins.
that's not who I see on the sheet. Let me.
I'm done.
With the 32-ounce solo. Go ahead,
Hey.
talk that gospel.
Hey, this was never about that. I said I love the Jets. It's just I would take their offensive pieces over what the Patriots have. I don't think that's a fucking hot take.
Oh my God,
No,
he does have
not-
Sam Darnold there. Jesus Christ, I didn't see this before.
No, Ryan just changed it.
I didn't
No,
change
that-
anything.
No, that wasn't Ryan.
Oh,
I'm just
wow.
I
saying.
didn't change anything. Let's talk about these late round quarterbacks who could potentially win championships on the real. I put down Jared Goff. I talked about Cooper Kupp before. Like getting exposure to the offense just in general, and maybe you don't choose between Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods, or maybe you have both of them and you want to do the mega stack, or you get Akers and you want to have the rushing points with the quarterback points. I mean, this guy, he didn't look great in some of the games last year. He is a guy that he relies on the offense to just be perfect. And we saw Sean McVay kind of, get brought to light on can he handle the situation or not, with the whole offense digressing. But Cooper Kupp was injured. They had injuries across the board. I like their outlook for this season. I'm buying into Jared Goff, where he's going in drafts right now in late rounds. I'm totally fine with getting exposure to this offense again.
He's so cheap.
He is cheap, and all of his weapons are going,
A lot higher.
massively in ADP, and then you just get left with him. So it's like, why not get a piece of that offense from the quarterback position? Let's go with Ben because I like this pick here with.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot of offenses that we want to invest in. I want to invest in Carolina. Really like Teddy Bridgewater. Just think he offers so much upside. Their defense, I think, is going to be historically bad, and I think that sets up for such a favorable fantasy, game scripts from a passing standpoint. And this dude has weapons. He's obviously got CMC. Love me some DJ Moore. Bring in Robbie Anderson. And I really like, another guy we haven't talked about, Curtis Samuel, could be that guy that takes the next step this year. He saw a lot of downfield targets. They just didn't work out because he saw them from Kyle Allen. Really like the coaching staff that they have there in Carolina. And I think Teddy proved, kind of like he did earlier in his career before the injury last year. Granted, it was a good situation, but Teddy can ball. And I think he's going to do just that. Super cheap. I really like Jimmy G too, but there's obviously fear that the same thing happens again where the defense just dominates. You obviously don't have that in Carolina whatsoever. Teddy should be throwing all the time. He should have a solid floor and peak games as well. So, I mean, I'm all in on Teddy in all formats at his price.
Derek, what say you, man?
Dude, I love the Teddy call. I'm all in on Teddy. The guy that I want to talk about real fast is Joe Burrow. I understand we have different stipulations as far as learning in the offense and stuff for the offseason, but Kev, you can shake your head. Oh, you want to, man.
You talk this whole podcast about players learning offenses and everything else, and why they could struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Burrow, the fucking quarterback, hasn't had any experience in this offense. You think, all right.
Yeah, because they're going to throw – they could lead the league in passing attempts. I'm going to go with this from a volume perspective, Kev. On a per-game basis, Andy Dalton in 13 games, so it's not crazy to extrapolate that out to 16. They'd have been second in the league in passing attempts. Second. So where you're going to get him in drafts right now, he has a rushing upside. They're going to be top 3 possibly in passing attempts because the defense is garbage. Is Joe Burrow going to pay off on his cost? Yeah, I'm in with it. And all of his weapons are super cheap. Nobody wants A.J. Green. Tyler Boyd's outside the top 30 in most drafts. If A.J. Green doesn't come back, T. Higgins is free. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Joe Burrow because of the rushing. I'm going to go with a better offensive system. And I think that he can absolutely do that this year.
I like Burrow, too.
I do, too.
You look at Andrew Luck when he came in his first year, he threw for 4,200 yards. So, like, a rookie can come in and ball out. And then touching on the rushing upside, Burrow had 93 and 81 pure rushing attempts. College is weird where they include sacks and rushing attempts, so you got to back those out. But he had 93 and 81. So comparing that to Josh Allen, who had 116 and 70 in his sophomore and junior year, Burrow's going to be – he's got the rushing upside. And anytime you're drafting a late-round quarterback, you're looking for a guy who can do a little bit of both to help you with both the floor and the ceiling. So I'm on Team Burrow also.
Me too. And we started the podcast by talking about that there are going to be outliers when we talk about the rookies. And I think Burrow can be an outlier. The dude is elite. And we skipped over it earlier, but I really I really like Tyler Boyd in the 6th round. Just think he offers so much reliability and upside. Obviously, you touched on it, Debro. All the other weapons he has, I agree with you. I like it.
Why take Burrow instead of taking Gardner Minshew?
Higher upside.
Does he? I mean, Gardner Minshew finished top 5 in about every rushing metric last year for quarterbacks. He was one of the most efficient quarterbacks we've seen, rookie quarterbacks we've seen in the last 4 years. I think he's second in completion percentage among rookie quarterbacks. He finished top 5 in deep ball completion percentage. So he has that Konami code upside. He's certainly not Deshaun Watson or any of those other in terms of like athletic ability. But we saw it last year with him. He didn't have any rushing touchdowns, so some positive regression coming in. Maybe in that department, get a couple rushing touchdowns. I think there's a lot to like there with the offense as a whole. Yep. The defense is going to be straight trash, and so that's why I like Gardner Minshew. Because I mean, everything that you probably could say about Joe Burrow that you like, you could say about. Then we already know this with Gardner Minshew heading into his second year. And we're talking about a 6th round pick out of Washington State who was thrust in out of nowhere. Nobody knew who Gardner fucking Minshew was. or most people didn't, and came into that situation and played pretty well. He had his ups and downs, took some lumps, but as a whole, I would much rather have Gardner Minshew than Joe Burrow in terms of now. Of course, I mean, as we know, in late round, taking a late round quarterback, there's so many available. You can stream, you can do whatever you if you don't hit on one of them. I understand it, but for me, I think Gardner Minshew, like, and early in the offseason, like I wasn't real high on Gardner Minshew. But the more I've looked into him, and the more everything that I've looked at with him, I think the upside's there. I don't know how great of a real quarterback that he actually is, but I think just for fantasy purposes, which we've seen with guys like Blake Bortles, who were consistent performers in terms of fantasy, and giving you QB1 years, I think that can be Gardner Minshew. I think he can do those same things. I like DJ Chark. I like D.D. Westbrook is still there. Bringing in Laviska Shenault, so they have some pieces there. Jay Gruden now is the OC if he remains. Who knows with all the shit that he's in. But if he stays, I think there's a ton to like about Gardner Minshew. Again, he also gives you that rushing upside that you're kind of looking for.
I like Gardner. Yeah, I'm not going to say a bad thing about him. I like him.
Same. And Derek, I actually think we talked about this earlier on Twitter. Chris Conley also had like 700 yards last year, and like nobody realized it.
Quietly good, man.
Yeah, he was quietly good last year. So there are weapons there.
Well, I think Shenault spells the death of D.D. Westbrook. Like, I think he goes into the slot, man. I think that he absolutely does. Because if you look at Chenault's profile, he was most successful in 2018. He ran about half his routes out of the slot. In 2019 is where he struggled. Yes, he had the injuries, but they pushed him outside. I think he was like 70-80% outside wide receiver. I think that he goes into the slot, and I'm not going to say a bad thing about Gardner. I love his rushing upside. The only thing looking into Jay Gruden is I kind of wonder if the passing volume goes down a little bit because he's never been a high volume coordinator. They've leaned on the run a little bit under, at least back in his coordinator days. Now, Washington, that's a whole mess because McVay, it's hard to tell like who was really running what there in Washington because McVay was there for 3 years with Kirk Cousins and stuff like that. Like the water gets a little bit muddier. I do like it because they're going to have to throw, man. I mean, it's one of the big reasons why I'm not in on Leonard Fournette, like because I do like Minshew and I like the pass catchers. I'm all in on Josh Oliver too. So yeah, you're not going to hear anything bad out of me for Gardner.
Eifert, O'Shaughnessy, yeah. And if Jay Gruden keeps his job, I absolutely believe there will be a Jay Gruden bump. I've always been a fan.
I still like Keelan Cole. I think Keelan Cole has an opportunity to go. He's probably not gonna be a thing with the Jags, but I think he could go somewhere else. And because they put a tender on him, didn't they? Like he was supposed to be a free agent there. I think they put a tender on him.
They did. Josh Oliver is my Darren Waller call for this year. Throwing that out there real fast.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's sitting out there in dynasty waiver wires.
Well,
so
he is, man. Like, and just real quick,
waivers.
I threw this in here, but Gruden 17% target share to Gresham in 2 of his years in Cincinnati. Jordan Reed saw a 17 to 24% target share. It ain't Eifert, man. He's a part timer. The athletic guy that you need to go get is Josh Oliver, and he's free everywhere.
Only thing that scares me is O'Shaughnessy actually played well before he got hurt last year, but I agree. The upside for Oliver, 3rd-round pick, athletic, is definitely there, and it's worth looking into for sure.
Oliver didn't have any targets in his 3 games. He only played 3 games. He ran 20 or more routes in 2 of those 3 games.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
But, we've obviously been going for 2 hours and 16 minutes. I'm going to have to cut this thing up. This thing's going to get chopped up. But I think since this is like the redraft primer, and we're probably not going to meet up again, just everybody just give one like super your bold fucking take for the year. Just Ryan, you haven't said a lot. Start with you.
Is it a bold take that the season finishes?
That could be a bold
go
take.
with
That could be the hot take.
That's so fucking sad.
Yeah, that's Debbie Downer, Ryan.
I'm not touching that.
No, I just
you want my
the season finishing.
Positive.
The season finishing in a positive way. Not that it does not finish.
Oh.
I think at this point that is a bold take that the season finishes. But bold take. Let's go with
I got one if you want more time.
Yeah,
I
give
think
me
I
more
already
time.
threw. I think I already threw mine out there as Josh Oliver's Darren Waller this year. So
Yeah, that's not a bad one.
Yeah, I like that one.
I feel like that was hot enough. I mean, I don't know if y'all want me to turn up the heat anymore, but I don't know what else. I don't know what else I got past
Please
that.
do
Derek,
if you'd like
Derek,
to.
you'll like mine.
Ooh,
Let's hear
I
it,
can't wait to
Maddie.
hear it. Come
Is
on,
it gonna be
Maddie.
Dan? Is it gonna be Dan Arnold?
Oh,
No, but
please.
I actually don't hate that.
Oh,
Dan Arnold
yeah.
got brought up on my pod the other day, and the
Arizona, man.
only thing I could think of was y'all collection of fools right here because I was like, it's the Arnold Truthers, baby. I'm coming
Right.
home tonight.
It was like 1% on his Thanksgiving slate.
A couple of years ago. I remember.
Showdown
I remember.
goat. Anyway, hot take, dude.
Yeah, Maddie, let's hear it.
Cam Akers is a RB1, top 12.
Yes!
That receiving upside for him, I think he steps into Gurley's role more than the others.
Yes.
All right,
Love
that's
it.
one I'm going to have to reevaluate. I like it. I'm going McCole Hardman post 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns.
I like
Who's
it.
getting
I
hurt?
love that.
Who are you
Ooh.
killing in the Kansas City offense?
McCole Hardman is overtaking Sammy Watkins from the jump.
Okay. You know,
And
all right,
DeMarcus
that's-
Robinson.
I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. That's a
Sal
hot take.
said that's not bold enough, Ben.
I mean, we can talk about it if you want.
No, it's just okay. Because like to me, I'm.
Oh,
looking at
shit.
this-
What's up, Sal? That's not bold enough?
Not bold enough. I love it.
Because obviously Kelsey and Tyreek, right? They're going to be the number 2. So I mean, you're talking. I mean,
So he's the
that's-
number 3.
Dude.
But 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. That is.
I mean,
pretty
he had
good.
half
Yeah,
that on like 18
Yeah.
catches last
Right,
year.
yeah, right. But that was.
I wish,
crazy
man, I wish they would let him play. Just let the dude play. He could play in the zone. Like, he could play. He can succeed versus anything. The dude just absolutely ripped, man, in press coverage. Like, I would love to see McCole in a full role, man. Like,
That's
that
what
would
Paris
be.
Campbell's going to do. 4-3 speed. Kills. It kills, man.
Oh, Maddie. You're singing it tonight,
Hey,
dude.
I
Sal,
actually still I think McColl.
Why you got those numbers, Ben?
What?
How you got Mahomes? Why you have those numbers? Like, what's Mahomes
Mahomes-
finishing?
Mahomes going for 60 touchdowns.
Wait, what?
I mean,
I mean-
I think that's bold.
buried
That's what you
the
should have
lead
led
there.
with.
Boldest.
That's what you should have led with.
I mean,
I thought he
let's
was hot, but he just nuked my face.
60.
Sammy Watkins catching half of those, by the way.
let's not sit here and act like 60 is not out of the question for Patrick Mahomes.
Dear
I mean,
God,
it's
never
not.
mind.
It's really
I
not, but-
recant. Travis Kelce in the first round. Never mind, baby.
I mean,
I think of 60 TDs, and I think about the LSU offense, and they literally scored almost every time down the field, and Burrow threw 60 touchdowns.
He
Hey,
threw 50.
Like, that's how
Um,
good – you have to be insanely efficient.
if anybody can do it.
But if anybody can do it, it would be Patrick Mahomes.
Man.
Honestly, I have
Lord
no
have
pants
mercy.
on this entire year if that happens.
if he has 50 or 45, Hardman can get to 10 touchdowns.
Dude, if that's
he
the
had
case-
six last year.
What did
If
Manning
that's the
have?
case, literally
55?
every week at DFS, we're just gonna be like, all right, how the hell do I jam in Patrick Mahomes and run variations of Kansas City?
Where does Patrick Mahomes where's his price you think in DFS? Where do you think it gets if he's on that kind of a heater?
Uh,
You're
9K?
looking
It
at,
approaches
you're looking at,
9K.
you're looking at, you're
around
yeah,
9K.
yeah, 9K,
9K.
if not north of that.
Around 9K. But just, I mean, Hardman had 538 and 6 last year.
Yeah, that's
As
what I
a-
said. He had half of what you
No
were projecting.
freaking snaps.
And how
So
many
no
catches
snaps.
did he have? 24 receptions, something like that?
Yeah, he had the most receiving yards on 43 or fewer targets in NFL history. So if we give him twice the role, which I'm projecting, the dude's going to go off. So I should have talked about him. Fuck.
Yeah.
God, I love that.
Forget
You should've.
Golden Tate.
You
Forget
buried the
Golden
lead.
Tate. McCole Hardman.
You buried the lead with that.
I
I mean, he can score every time he touches the ball, whether you hand it off behind the line of scrimmage or throw him a 3-yard slant, or he can catch a 45-yard bomb down the field. Like,
He's the
It's
Tyreek.
unreal.
He's Tyreek Hill's replacement.
yeah.
yeah.
Tyreek probably has a year.
Well, they drafted him when Tyreek was in limbo with his status.
Well,
of
and
the kid
if you
stuff.
look at Tyreek's contract after this
Sal, I
year,
love
his dead cap goes to nothing. So if they wanted to, they can get out from under it.
And why can't they just both ball out together with the best NFL player of
they
all
need to
time?
get Sammy Watkins off the field.
Yes.
Sorry,
I-
Cody.
Bye. Bye.
I think it's going to happen.
Bye,
I do.
Sammy. Bye.
So.
You can leave Sammy. Just like put McCole on the outside. He can win from
Yeah,
there.
Sammy doesn't matter. Okay, he has one monster game week 1. He completely is dead
Hey,
the rest of the year. And
that
then
was
he
a
comes
nice
back in
game,
the playoffs
okay?
and
He
just
wins-
I won a
wins
lot of money
people-
on that game.
He wins
Millions
people
of
some
dollars.
money in the playoffs.
That was so heartbreaking. I was like, here we fucking go. This is finally the year. It's gonna happen. I'll be able to just fucking retire.
Oh.
Like I'm just gonna quit everything after this. It's gonna be Sammy Watkins season.
Oh, Cody.
Fucking week 1, and then
I had him on every.
To
I
the
had him on
playoffs.
every team. I had him on every team, and after week 1, I was set. And then just ooh.
Well, you will always be able to say Sammy Watkins, Super Bowl champion. You will always be able to have that.
intellectual alien.
All right. Well, I'm happy my bold prediction created so much discussion. Ryan, what
Cody,
you got?
what is yours?
Yeah, that's wild.
I don't know. I mean, I wish I would have went first. I feel like I'm going to come in with flaccid takes now. I'm just limp and nothing happening.
Ben tossed some heaters, man.
I know.
I mean,
His hot take was 1,210 for McCall, and then just out of nowhere, casually throws out 60 touchdowns.
Hey, it's like, man, y'all
Right.
didn't hurt? I mean, I got 60 tutties for that dude. Like,
How-
like, what you mean?
How many did Mahomes throw 2 years ago? It wasn't
50.
close. He threw 50 2 years ago. So
So what's 10 more?
Yeah. He
Just
missed how many games last year? 2 or 3? So it's just, 4 or 5 in those games that he missed, and he's there.
Sal, you missed my
Let's go.
bold take, man.
I feel like everything after this is going to be boring.
come on, Cody, bring the heat, baby.
DK
Sammy
Metcalf.
Watkins, 25 touchdowns.
The Jets will have a better offense than the Patriots.
No way. That's already been said.
Oh my god.
That was gonna be that's I was gonna say it, but that's not really what it was.
I'll double down and I'll go DK Metcalf and Tyler Boyd finish as wide receiver ones.
Let's go, Cody.
Ooh.
Tyler Boyd, high.
Both. I feel like one of them is not going to be enough following that act up, so I'm just going to throw both in there, and then I'll also say that Mixon and Sanders finish as top 6 running backs.
I get
Go Bengals.
Listen, you slut! You're just out here just throwing out hot take after hot take. Supposed to be one. You're just dropping all kinds of them out here.
Listen, if I had Adam Gase tickling my butthole underneath the table too,
he got him.
Oh my God.
calling me a star.
Fantastic.
Take the Redskins over the Patriots.
That's getting clips. We're clipping that.
Cody wins. Cody wins. Cody wins.
Woo!
Ryan, what's yours?
I got Gallup as a top 15 wide receiver and outscoring Amari Cooper
Love
on the
that.
team.
Ooh.
I can get on board with that.
Love
I can
that.
get on with that.
That's exactly why I think CeeDee Lamb is too hyped for this year.
Yeah. Yep.
For this year, yeah.
Yeah, for this year.
Gallup had better per game numbers than Cooper last year. People don't realize.
Gallup's a stud.
Quietest
From week 9 on.
1K,
From week 9 on.
1K, 6
That's
touchdown year.
No, his every game he played because he was hurt a couple. He had better per game stats in the last season. Yeah, he's a
Gallup's
stud.
baller. Total baller.
Come on with it, Kev.
I thought you weren't going to get shook, Kev. He's still shook by
Hey, I'm
that.
not shook. I just that was a good one. That really was. That was a good one. Tickling.
Still on it.
I'm still dying. I'm gonna go. Darius Guice finishes at top 8 running back, and Jonnu Smith finishes at the top 4.
Oh, I
Tight
love
end.
the Johnny.
Got it.
I love the Johnny.
You're on
Flip
board,
him.
Johnny.
Clip them and put them in the bank, Kev.
I'm 1 for 2 on those. Yeah, I love the Johnny call.
Wow.
Darius Guice is one of the best values in all of fantasy drafts right now, going in the 7th round.
I mean, the Redskins are an elite
Is he-
offense. What can you say?
Hey, you got to do it. You got to take them.
I mean, you got to.
When you could get the starting
I've
running
never
back
said I will fucking go back. I never said that they were an elite offense. I never said that.
No, you didn't say that.
Okay.
You
Man,
damn
that's-
near came close.
You might not survive this Jets bet, Kev. Like I'm talking about if they end up bottom 3 offenses in the league, like you ain't surviving, bro.
Kev, I'm going to blast you every week.
Yeah, I'm blasting you too. That's bad.
You know,
If for some reason I don't make it, can somebody just put this on my tombstone? Like I'm totally fine with that. Like y'all just
every once in a while, I sort of like I'm like in my head after I've thought about it, I'm like that might have not have been my best take, but
See-
but I'm standing by it. I'm standing by it because I'm a man of my word.
Because
I
He didn't
would've-
wanna
I would've
do it.
It's
sliced
not,
up-
and it still has nothing to do with. I still think the Jets' offense, in terms of their weapons, is better than the Patriots and what they currently have. However,
Who still has to go? Who still has to go?
we're done. That's it.
We're
Everybody's
done.
win.
That was it.
Everyone's done?
Yeah.
I understand what you were doing, Kev, and I actually respect the hell out of it. But then when you took it to the next level and decided to bet on Adam Gase, that's where you that's where you went.
That's where I went
Not
too far. That's
not
where
just
That might have been some peer pressure, but I wasn't going to let you get out of that one.
But my adrenaline went too far, and then my mind started spinning. I was like, wait a second, the Jets defense is gonna be terrible. They're gonna have to throw the ball a lot. That means the offense is gonna should be out there. And I'm like, the Patriots defense is gonna be fucking elite, so they're probably not gonna be, I would say that it's gonna
It was
be
all
really
that under the table action. He just couldn't handle it anymore.
And then I was like,
Yeah,
no,
that
I'm
red
taking
solo
it.
cup.
And then I started back after a couple of minutes. I started backing off. I was like, man, that probably wasn't my best. That wasn't my
This
best.
dude got a
but-
32-ounce solo cup, and he's been drinking it.
I knew
all
I
night.
knew I had him whenever he
Liquid
paused.
courage flowing.
Whenever I was like, well, "What you want to do?" and he goes,
I
Yeah,
almost spit that all over my computer.
there was a few crickets from Kev a few times this year.
he paused for a second. I think he was like, "Oh shit, I've gone too far."
Oh my
I think the important
ride
question
it's
is:
been.
will the 10 touchdowns that the Patriots defense scores, will those be counted in the Patriots points per game numbers? Because we know those are happening.
No, that shouldn't count.
Oh.
That doesn't count.
No, it doesn't count.
We need
Child,
someone
please.
we need someone who's good at like the graphic game to take that clip of Adam Gase like looking at the tacos and just make a Kevin hole.
I gotta go on that note.
We will
Oh my God.
will have to get a ticker going though throughout the season. We're going to start
Oh
off
my
every
God.
DJ Nation pod with how many points that the Patriots offense has
Gase
scored,
watch
how many
2020,
points
baby.
the Jets offense
Hey,
has
the
scored.
Jets play the Chiefs this year too. So Kev, you taking the over in that game already? You just hammering the
Slamming the
over.
over.
Week 7. Not even
Slamming the
yet.
over.
I am so
Yeah, that's-
weak right now.
73-10. 73-10 final.
Oh my God.
All right,
When-
Ryan, call us out. Get us out of here.
Oh man, 2020 Fantasy Football Super Show. You guys have been listening to it. Thank you guys for joining in. Everybody who's been watching on YouTube, on Periscope, listening to the podcast. We much appreciate it, guys. Get to the website, fantasyauthority.com. You see it right there at the bottom of the screen if you're watching along with us. Lots of content coming out there. This is going to be up there. Can't wait to have this show spiced up with all the different takes and conversations that we had. Thanks for everybody tuning in. You can follow us on Twitter at FF_authority, Instagram, The Fantasy Authority, and same thing on Facebook, The Fantasy Authority. Signing off for everybody for this show, the Fantasy Super Show. It's been a blast. We had our guest, Maddie Dickinson at Maddie DFS. We had Derek Brown at Dbro_FFB. And we have Ben Cummins at Ben Cummins FF. We thank you guys for joining us. The TFA host, Kevin Steele at Fantasy Red 13 and Cody Kutzer at C Kutzer FF. I'm your host, Ryan Alexander_W. It's been a fun ride with you guys. We're excited for the 2020 season, and we can't wait to see you guys next time. Signing out. Peace.